Chapter 1091 Fast and Slow, Yin and Yang. Chapter 1091 Fast and Slow, Yin and Yang. Per Gu King's prediction, the four puppet fighters treated Jian Wushuang as an eternal realm expert in the beginning. However, as the battle progressed, their strength gradually enhanced until they reached the level of a Dao master. They went from rank 1 to rank 3, and finally to peak of rank 3. Even so, it did not take Jian Wushuang much effort to deal with them. Then, the four puppet fighters rose to the battle strength of an elementary celestial master. It was only then that Jian Wushuang began to struggle. Celestial Master Yu Ding, who was watching the battle attentively outside the hall, shook his head. It's been an hour and the four puppet fighters still couldn't defeat Jian Wushuang despite gaining the strength of a medium-level celestial master. Looks like he'll be able to obtain the third soul-luring incense, but it remains to be seen if he can obtain the fourth. He looked forward to seeing what would happen. The third incense could burn for a month. The fourth was good enough to last an entire year. Though many celestial masters of Green Fire Palace had obtained the soul-luring incense, what most of them got was the second incense, the kind that burned for only a day. Few obtained the third. Boom! Inside the hall, a loud explosion reverberated as Jian Wushuang was thrown backward. He appeared to be in a very wretched state. Yu Ding immediately looked over at him. Did he lose? Jian Wushuang had indeed lost. With the four puppet fighters, whose strength had reached the level of a medium celestial master, working together, it was impossible for Jian Wushuang to soldier on for long. I've tried my best. I wonder what kind of soul-luring incense I got. The four puppet fighters stopped attacking after defeating Jian Wushuang. One of them went to the censer and inserted the largest incense into it. The incense was ignited immediately after being put into the censer. The fourth one. Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled. It's really the fourth one. Yu Ding could not help exclaiming when he saw what happened. Obtaining the fourth soul-luring incense meant that Jian Wushuang could devote himself to cultivation for a whole year under the incense's guidance. This was a great opportunity for him. Many celestial masters were able to make gains after cultivating for just one day under the incense's guidance. It would be even more effective if they spent 1 month cultivating, but Jian Wushuang now had a whole year to do so. What an enviable talent! Shaking his head, Yu Ding turned around and left. Just as he was turning around, the hall became completely closed off. The moment the incense was ignited, Jian Wushuang became the only person with the right to stay in the hall to meditate. Kid, this is your chance. Make full use of it, Gu King said. Not wanting to waste any precious time, Jian Wushuang immediately sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. Following the burning of the incense, a faint fragrance gradually permeated the hall until it reached his nose. He felt refreshed and relaxed all at the same time. Thus, he started to meditate. It went without saying that he meditated using the 3 sword principles that he created. Coalescence sword principle was the only one that reached the creation level. In order to upgrade it, he needed to integrate various sword principles to form an integral whole. Though his meditation went much faster than before thanks to the incense, he could not enhance the coalescence sword principle as he did not have other sword principle as a reference. Therefore, he chose to focus on his 2 other sword principles, Aurora sword principle and Scarlet Yang sword principle. Jian Wushuang began with Aurora sword principle. He could only meditate one at a time. It was a pity that the incense was only effective on one person. Even though he had 2 original bodies, the incense was ineffective on the other one even if it had consciousness too. The speed of Aurora sword formation? He murmured. He had sunk into complete silence. In the blink of an eye, an entire month had passed. Jian Wushuang continued sitting cross-legged inside the hall, but a fresh idea was swimming in his consciousness. The idea came from one of his memories. It was his memory of the inauguration ceremony of the supervisor, where his father had killed Celestial Master Lei. The idea came from his father's sword then. His sword was painfully slow, yet this was nothing more than an illusion. It was actually unimaginably swift. Slow. Fast or slow? The idea in his mind became clearer and clearer as he continued to recall the scene where his father used his swordsmanship. That's it. I finally understand it. No wonder I can't advance my sword principle to the creation level no matter how hard I tried. It didn't work even after improved its speed to its peak. So it turns out that it's not only about being fast, but it's also about being slow. The speed includes being both fast and slow. The Aurora sword principle I created can only go fast, so even if it has the highest speed, it's just part of the speed. Its power is still limited. This is like a warrior of the ancient world. No matter how strong he is, he's still in the ancient world and doesn't know the vastness of the world outside. Therefore, he can never reach his peak. That's the case for my Aurora sword principle. No matter how fast my swordsmanship is, it's just one kind of the speed. The real philosophy of speed is that one should meditate both the way of fast and slow, and then combine them perfectly. Jian Wushuang's eyes glinted with golden light. He had been unable to work past the bottleneck in cultivating the Aurora sword principle. He now knew how to make a breakthrough. The Aurora sword principle had reached the highest level, and all that was left to do was for him to create a slow sword principle. Once he combined both in a perfect way, he would be able to create the speed sword principle. It's not limited to just the Aurora sword principle. Scarlet Yang sword principle works the same way, he murmured. The Scarlet Yang sword principle was the toughest and most positive of all sword principles. It sought the extremities. The opposite of extreme positivity was extreme negativity. Only by creating the Scarlet Yin sword principle and combining it with the Scarlet Yang sword principle could one acquire the Yin Yang sword principle of the creation level. Having figured out this point, Jian Wushuang now had a clear idea of the reasoning behind his two sword principles. He continued studying them under the guidance of the soul-luring incense. Chapter 1092, Sudden Changes. Chapter 1092, Sudden Changes. Time flew. Before he knew it, an entire year had passed. The soul-luring incense inside the hall, massive as it was beginning to reach its end. The moment the incense was extinguished, the special fragrance that filled the hall vanished in an instant. The door was once again unlocked. Jian Wushuang, who was seated cross-legged, opened his eyes and rose to his feet. He wore a smile on his face as he made a small wave with his hand. Out of the blue, a sword light appeared. The dazzling sword light flew forward, moving so miserably slow that it seemed any Dao master could easily dodge it by using a body technique. However, never mind a Dao master, even a celestial master would be forced to confront the light with all his might without being able to dodge it. That was how fast the sword light was. The real speed sword principle is the combination of both fast and slow motions. The swordsmanship that my father manifested when he killed Celestial Master Lei Yi with a single strike might share a similar Dao with my speed sword principle. He smiled even wider after watching his sword light disappear into the void. He had finally made a breakthrough in his sword principles after meditating for a year under the guidance of the soul-luring incense. Now he had a second sword principle of the creation level under his belt. It was based on the Aurora sword principle and included two conceptions of fast and slow motions. It was called the speed sword principle. With the completion of the speed sword principle, Jian Wushuang now had two sword principles of the creation level. Naturally, his strength also skyrocketed. What a pity that the incense burns only for a year. If it lasts for another 2 or 3 months, I could finish the yin-yang sword principle. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. In the past year, he had perfected the speed sword principle as well as created the Scarlet Yin sword principle, which now coexisted with the Scarlet Yang sword principle. Both were close to a perfect combination. Once that happened, he would be able to create the yin-yang sword principle of the creation level. Then, he would have a total of 3 sword principles of the creation level. It's just a matter of time before that happens now that I've found a way. It doesn't matter even if I don't have the soul-luring incense anymore. Jian Wushuang was delighted. He had benefited a lot in the past year. Jian Wushuang. Celestial Master Yu Ding's gentle voice drifted in as he walked into the hall. He came up to Jian Wushuang and asked, "How are things?" "Not bad," Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. "I'm sure you've gained a lot after cultivating a year under the guidance of the soul-luring incense," Yu Ding said with a sigh. "Since the rules of Green Fire Palace stipulate that we're only eligible for a soul-leading incense each, there's no reason for you to stay in Tai Ching Palace anymore. Let's return to Green Fire Palace." "Sure." Jian Wushuang nodded. He was content with all that he had gained in the past year. He set off for the wormhole with Yu Ding at once and traveled using the same path as they had come in. Just as they walked out of the hall and were still in the corridor of the palace. Boom! There was a loud explosion accompanied by a strong aura of spiritual power. Yu Ding's expression immediately changed. "What's going on?" Jian Wushuang frowned. Both of them sensed that the explosion and the aura of spiritual power originating from outside of the palace. It was not far from them. Is someone fighting outside? Jian Wushuang thought. Tai Ching Palace was located on the huge battlefield. Experts from both Green Fire Palace and the Jin Kingdom could be found on the battlefield all year round, searching for opportunities. Considering their intense hatred for each other, it was normal for experts of both sides to fight when they met on the battlefield. "Come with me." With a serious expression, Yu Ding quickened his pace and brought Jian Wushuang to the gate of the palace right away. They hovered above the hall as they looked at the source of the explosion. Soon, several figures appeared in their vision. Hundreds of thousands of miles away, 3 golden-armored men besieged a silver-haired old lady equipped with a long stick. The old lady was bleeding all over and her aura was weakened as well. She was obviously severely injured. The golden-armored men emanated strong auras. 2 of them were medium celestial masters while the other was an advanced celestial master. The old lady was merely a medium celestial master. It would be strenuous for the injured old lady to cope with even one of them, but there was now 3 of them. "Oh no! It's Celestial Master Silver Moon." Yu Ding's expression darkened when he saw who it was. "Celestial Master Silver Moon? Is she one of us?" Jian Wushuang looked serious. "Yes." Yu Ding nodded solemnly. "She has been adventuring on the battlefield. She's quite good at fending for herself and hasn't encountered major troubles for millions of years. But she's now facing grave danger. So what are we waiting for? Let's hurry and help her," Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. His Blood Mountain sword was already in hand as he was about to rush out. However, just as he moved, a transparent layer of restriction appeared in front of him. "What?" His expression changed. "It's useless. Tai Ching Palace is quite unique. Though Temple Master Void has already tamed it, he can't take it away, so it has been left here on the battlefield. He keeps the restriction of Tai Ching Palace activated to prevent Jin Kingdom experts from breaking in. But that also means we can't get out of it," Yu Ding muttered. "There's no way out?" Jian Wushuang looked displeased. "So are we just going to sit here and watch?" "I've reported this to Temple Master Void. He'll turn off the restriction as soon as he hears of it and we can rescue her then. But it'll take 2 breaths," Yu Ding said in a cold voice, with a tint of killing intent on his face. 2 breaths were merely the span of several seconds. This process was already very efficient. However, the passing of 2 breaths was more than enough time for Celestial Masters to launch a series of attacks. Could Celestial Master Silver Moon hold on during this time? Chapter 1093 Dead. Chapter 1093 Dead. "Quick, Silver Moon. Run over to us. Just hold on for 2 more breaths. Just 2 more breaths and Void Temple Master will." Celestial Master Yu Ding spoke in a loud voice in hopes that it would reach Celestial Master Silver Moon's ears. However, before he could finish his words, he heard a soft groan and later saw Silver Moon falling feebly to the ground. The scene was devastating for both Jian Wushuang and Yu Ding. "Yu Ding, I'll turn off the restriction on Tai Ching Palace now so that you and Jian Wushuang can rescue her. Remember to be careful. Void Temple Master's reply came as soon as he received their message. Yu Ding sighed. Don't bother, Void Temple Master. Void Temple Master fell silent. He realized that there could only be one implication of Yu Ding's words. Silver Moon had passed away. Alas! Void Temple Master suspended their communication after heaving a sigh. There were 139 Celestial Masters in Green Fire Palace. Now they've lost another. Yu Ding shook his head. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands with a grim expression. Though he had never spoken to Silver Moon, both of them were members of Green Fire Palace and comrades who had fought for the Green Fire world at the risk of their lives. It was a terrible thing to watch a comrade fall before his eyes without being able to do anything about it. Jin Kingdom. Jian Wushuang clenched his teeth. Suddenly, Jian Wushuang and Yu Ding looked up at the same time. They saw 3 Jin Kingdom experts carry Silver Moon's body to the front of Tai Ching Palace after killing her. The experts stared at Jian Wushuang and Yu Ding through the transparent restriction. Then, the one carrying Silver Moon's body flung her at them. Silver Moon's body traveled like a flowing light before hitting the restriction around the palace. Bang! The Jin Kingdom expert exerted such enormous strength that Silver Moon's body shattered and turned into a bloody mist. Jian Wushuang and Yu Ding's teeth chattered when they witnessed this. Bastard! Yu Ding cursed loudly. Jian Wushuang's killing intent soared. Are you the coward of Green Fire Palace? The leader of the 3 Jin Kingdom experts, an advanced Celestial Master, sneered. Our monarch has ordered us not to trouble you as long as you stay inside Green Fire Palace. However, we're free to kill if any of you step onto the battlefield. Jian Wushuang and Yu Ding were livid. Pissed off, aren't you? If you've got guts, why don't you turn off the restriction, come out and fight us 3? The advanced Celestial Master taunted. Suddenly, clang! A dazzling light burst out of the wormhole in Tai Ching Palace. 10 people rushed out of the wormhole amidst the flickering light. Simultaneously, the restriction around Tai Ching Palace was turned off. Shit! Let's run! Hurry and run! The 3 Jin Kingdom experts immediately ran when they saw the flaring light, completely forgetting how they had just taunted Jian Wushuang and Yu Ding. Since they were genuine Celestial Masters with decent speed, they managed to flee quite the distance and outran the experts coming out of the wormhole. Bastards of the Jin Kingdom. They're lucky that they fled quickly. Otherwise, how I wish to kill the 3 bastards. Voices filled with rage sounded one after another. 10 people of both genders and varying ages towered over Tai Ching Palace, each of them emanating a great aura. They were evidently the Celestial Masters of Green Fire Palace. They had learned of Silver Moon's predicament through the communication between Yu Ding and Void Temple Master. Those close to her rushed over through the wormhole. However, they were too late. When they stared at the bloody mist that Silver Moon's body had disintegrated into, they could still see a little of her bones, blood, and flesh. Their expressions were ghastly. They all lived such long lives that they had lost all of their families. Nothing in the Green Fire world were of concern to them, except for their Green Fire Palace comrades who had risked their lives in the fight against the Jin Kingdom. Silver Moon was one of their comrades. Naturally, her death pained them. Yu Ding, you were here when Silver Moon was killed. Why didn't you save her? A bald elder asked, nearly snarling. I wanted to, but the restriction was still there. I've immediately requested Void Temple Master to turn it off, but just as he replied, Silver Moon died. What else could I do? Yu Ding replied in a low voice. Though the bald elder was still angry, he did not vent it on Yu Ding any longer after hearing the latter's story. According to Yu Ding, the Jin Kingdom experts probably ambushed Silver Moon. They injured and killed her before she could get help. If she sensed danger and got Void Temple Master to turn off the restriction earlier, she wouldn't have died, a petite and short young man said with a sigh. Though he looked young, his head was a shock of silver-white hair. He was the only one in the exceptional realm among the dozen Celestial Masters present, as well as the most senior one. His name was Qin. Following the short period of grief, the rest finally calmed down. Chen suddenly turned to look at Jian Wushuang. "Yu Ding, will you introduce your friend?" The rest also looked at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. They could see that Jian Wushuang was a mere Eternal Realm expert. "This is Jian Wushuang, also a member of Green Fire Palace. Though he's still in the Eternal Realm, he has reached the top of the 3-star Imperial Kinsman Ancient God. He also possesses a number of trump cards and great battle strength. Hence he can rival ordinary medium-level Celestial Masters," Yu Ding replied. "I've come here to take him to Tai Ching Palace." "Oh." Chen and the others were surprised. Jian Wushuang saluted them and said humbly, "Nice to meet you, Celestial Masters." Naturally, he had to be a little more humble when meeting these Celestial Masters who were like old monsters who had lived countless years. Chapter 1094, I'll Take Full Responsibility. Chapter 1094, I'll Take Full Responsibility. Jian Wushuang? I've heard of the name somewhere. "Oh, are you Nan's son?" Celestial Master Chen asked solemnly. "Nan's son?" The Celestial Masters began to look at Jian Wushuang differently. They lived in the Green Fire Palace all year round. They rarely visited the Green Fire world and thus, most of them did not know Jian Wushuang despite his fame. However, they knew him as Nan's son. "Are you Nan's son?" "Nan? That bastard." It said that he took Ji Wuming away from the ancient monster clan. "That bastard." They began cursing up a storm. Jian Wushuang frowned and clenched his hands but restrained his rage. He could understand why they would have such an attitude and why they would curse his father like this. "Kid, I heard you and your father were the ones who attacked the ancient monster clan and went up the heaven-ceasing peak to take Ji Wuming away." Chen glared at Jian Wushuang. "Yes." Jian Wushuang nodded solemnly before adding in a low voice, "Ji Wuming is my mother." "Yes, she's your mother. But she's also the glimmer of hope in which Green Fire Palace earned after sparing no effort. She's supposed to shoulder the responsibility of the entire Green Fire Palace and Green Fire world. Now that your father has taken her away, that means all the efforts of Green Fire Palace are in vain. One of my sworn brothers, Celestial Master Peng, died because of your mother. If your mother could fulfill her duties, it would have made all our efforts and my sworn brother's death worthwhile. But now, he won't be able to rest in peace." Chen snarled when he said the last sentence. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands even tighter, so much so that he was stabbing his flesh with his nails. Taking a deep breath, he replied solemnly, "I'll complete the tasks that my mother didn't fulfill. I'll take over the duties that she shouldered all by myself." "Are you capable of that?" Chen scolded. "That's enough," Celestial Master Yu Ding said with a frown, finally intercepting their conversation. "Celestial Master Chen, all of you, I understand your frustrations. But the 5 Palace Masters have made their decision on this matter. If you're unhappy with the decision, you can take it up with them. Besides, Ji Wuming is Jian Wushuang's mother and Celestial Master Nan's wife. Humans are selfish. If you stand in their shoes, you'll find that they haven't done anything wrong." Chen's expression changed. He stared at Jian Wushuang for a long time before finally flicking his sleeve. "Since the 5 Palace Masters have made their decision, what else can I say? I hope the kid will be able to do something for Green Fire Palace. I don't expect him to be as competent as his mother. It'd be good enough if he even fulfills half of his mother's duties." He then turned around and left. Other Celestial Masters looked at Jian Wushuang with complex expressions but nevertheless, also took their leave. Soon, Jian Wushuang and Yu Ding were left alone in Tai Ching Palace. Jian Wushuang was still clenching his hands. There was a tint of fortitude in his eyes that had never appeared before. "Jian Wushuang." Yu Ding looked at him. "Their attitude is extreme but they have their reasons. Please understand them." "I understand." Jian Wushuang nodded. He did not actually blame Celestial Master Chen and the others. "Mother." Jian Wushuang gritted his teeth. He had learned about her mother from Jian Nantian. The day Yu Ding brought him to Green Fire Palace, he also questioned him and was told the truth. Since then, he could understand why Celestial Master Chen and the others were so furious, as well as why they blamed and cursed him and his father. The Celestial Masters had paid too great a price for this. His mother was a member of the Ancient Monster clan who carried a pure Ancient Monster bloodline. Tens of thousands of years ago, the Green Fire Palace experts found the complete corpse of a heavenly monster with a pure bloodline on the battlefield. There was an intact heavenly monster's inheritance in the body, which presented them with a golden opportunity. The inheritance, containing a superb secret skill, was very powerful. The Green Fire Palace experts then requested the Ancient Monster clan to send 10 of their clansmen with the purest bloodline to inherit the skill. There were tests for those who wished to get the inheritance, of which 1 out of the 10 clansmen passed. That was his mother, Ji Wuming. Ji Wuming was instilled with enormous potential after gaining the heavenly monster's inheritance and secret skill. The palace masters who researched the secret skill bluntly said that she would be able to become the leader of Green Fire Palace if she makes great strides in cultivating the secret skill. The leader? She could become the leader. The 5 palace masters who took charge of Green Fire Palace all had enormous authority, but at the end of the day, they were still not the leader. The so-called leader was the supreme existence that would lead Green Fire Palace to destroy the Jin Kingdom. Such a leader was supposed to be powerful enough to earn the respect of all Green Fire Palace experts. His mother possessed such potential. However, the secret skill was so unique that she had to pay a high price to achieve it. One of the principles was to be heartless. That meant she would have to abandon all emotions, including love, kinship, and relationship. The only emotion that she could keep was nostalgia for her hometown. In order to make her abandon all her emotions, Green Fire Palace made great efforts to make her experience 9 rounds of samsara, to experience 9 births and deaths under the guidance of the secret skill. The Jin Kingdom somehow caught wind of this and dispatched a great number of experts to kill her. The Green Fire Palace experts had risked their lives to protect her. It was a ferocious battle, second only to the war 5 million years ago. Green Fire Palace had suffered great losses in the battle. Over 20 celestial masters were killed. They had sacrificed so much all so that Ji Wuming could learn the secret skill as soon as possible and then lead the entire Green Fire Palace. After she entered the samsara, she practiced through her 9 reincarnations under the palace's surveillance. The first 8 reincarnations went smoothly, for Ji Wuming had successfully eliminated her emotions during this time. However, unexpected events occurred during her 9th reincarnation in the Nanyang continent of the ancient world. Chapter 1095, Golden Image. Chapter 1095, Golden Image. Ji Wuming encountered Jian Nantian in her last reincarnation and showed that she was ultimately unable to discard her emotions. Moreover, she even gave birth to Jian Wushuang. Therefore, the efforts made over her last 8 reincarnations were completely ruined. Green Fire Palace was furious when they heard of it. They immediately brought Ji Wuming back and imprisoned her on the heaven-ceasing peak so that she could forget about Jian Nantian and her son. They sought to send her back to samsara and start all over again. Now, Jian Nantian had rescued Ji Wuming, once again foiling their plans. Their efforts and the sacrifices of over 20 celestial masters were all vain. Naturally, the Green Fire Palace experts despised Jian Nantian and Jian Wushuang. Understanding this, Jian Wushuang tolerated the reproaches of Celestial Master Chen and the rest. He would be the one to complete the tasks that his mother had not fulfilled. Don't overthink it. Let's head to Green Fire Palace, Celestial Master Yu Ding said. All right. Jian Wushuang nodded and returned to the palace with Yu Ding through the wormhole. I've told you about Green Fire Palace and taken you to where you should have been. If there isn't anything else I can do for you, I'll be taking my leave, Yu Ding said, bidding Jian Wushuang farewell. Thank you for your help, Jian Wushuang said gratefully. One more thing, Yu Ding said. If you wish to adventure on this battlefield one day, inform one of the palace masters first. He'll give you some necessary objects. Everyone is eligible to receive some objects from the palace master before setting off. Necessary objects? Jian Wushuang asked curiously. Tang Emperor used to be one of the palace masters. I heard that you're close to him. Maybe you'll receive his message token. You just need to give it to him then. Yu Ding smiled and then left. Jian Wushuang's face twitched. He was very interested in the objects. There were numerous opportunities and secrets hiding in the huge battlefield around the Green Fire world. Jian Wushuang wished to have an adventure there, but now was not the right time. He was still not strong enough. Strength. With his eyes glinting, he clenched his fists tightly. Soon, he arrived at the Fire Points exchange office. He hadn't exchanged for the 2 treasures that might be of use for him. Jian Wushuang, I've put aside the treasures Dao Yuanzi left behind that could be useful to you. Exchange the rest for Fire Points and see how much you can get, Gu King said. All right. Jian Wushuang nodded and handed his interspatial ring to the spirit to appreciate its value. He got the result in just seconds. 13,800 Fire Points? Jian Wushuang frowned. Dao Yuanzi was an expert from the blood-killing sect of the eternal chaotic world. How could all of his treasures be worth only 13,800 Fire Points? The sum was smaller than he expected. Gu King tittered. You think too highly of Dao Yuanzi. Sure, he came from the eternal chaotic world, but he was just an ordinary expert. He possessed some good treasures because he belonged to the blood-killing sect. The ones with great value, blood-killing plate armor, chaos gold bead, and spaceship, are all things you might need in the future. The other treasures aren't that valuable. We're already in luck to exchange them for that many Fire Points. Jian Wushuang agreed. 13,800 Fire Points was a small sum, but he was satisfied that they were enough to exchange for 2 treasures that he wanted. Jian Wushuang paid 10,100 Fire Points for the Golden Image secret skill and killing bead and then left. Green Fire Palace, along with its many palaces and mansions, was located on a huge floating land. Many of its buildings were empty. Jian Wushuang entered one of the unoccupied mansions, set a restriction around it, and began cultivating without the interruption of the outside world. He started with the Golden Image secret skill. The skill was divided into 3 steps, with the last step being the strongest. It was purely defensive secret skill. Usually, only those of or above the Celestial Master level were eligible to cultivate the first step of the secret skill, let alone the 2 other steps. He was eligible to cultivate it because of his exceptional physical strength as a 3-star Imperial Kinsman Ancient God. The cultivation of the skill was a complicated process. It took him a year and great efforts to complete the first step of the skill. He immediately noticed changes in his body after completing the first step of the secret skill. His skin would emit a faint golden light whenever he used his spiritual power. He looked extremely powerful. Jian Wushuang, being a 3-star Imperial Kinsman Ancient God, you're stronger than ordinary Celestial Masters. Now that you've learned the Golden Image secret skill, your defense capability should exceed that of all Celestial Masters. More importantly, you still have the blood-killing plate armor. The armor could cut down 90 or even 99% of the force of the attacks targeting you. The remaining force could hardly hurt you. Few Celestial Masters are now stronger than you in terms of defense. Of course, when you become a Dao Master or a Celestial Master combined with a Dharma body, your defense will be even more exceptional, Gu King said. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists and felt delighted from the bottom of his heart. He was aware of how strong his defense had become. It might not be enough for him to ignore the attacks of Celestial Masters, but coupled that with Gu King's healing ability, it was good enough for him to last a long time in a battle against a Celestial Master of the exceptional realm. Next, he began studying the killing bead. Gu King, you said that this bead is useful to me. What's its purpose? I don't even know how I should begin to refine it. Jian Wushuang frowned. He had tried refining the bead after obtaining it but failed each time. What was the use of having a treasure that could not be tamed and recognize its master? Who said it's necessary for the bead to recognize its master? Gu King asked with a mysterious smile. Chapter 1096, Confident Enough. Chapter 1096, Confident Enough. Warriors of Green Fire World like you are so short-sighted that you don't know their usage even if you obtain good treasures. Gu King tittered. Listen, the killing bead can neither recognize the master nor has a need to. Nevertheless, you can still use it perfectly. Did you sense the killing intent in the bead? He asked. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. He had checked the bead when he first received it and discovered that the reason behind its name, the bead contained an incredibly potent killing intent. The killing intent inside the bead was stronger than anything Jian Wushuang had imagined. No one in Green Fire Palace would be able to deflect such terrific killing intent. The essential part of the bead is its killing intent. That's what you need to refine, not the bead itself, Gu King said. Refine the killing intent? Jian Wushuang's eyes widened. How? He had never heard of directly refining the killing intent inside an object. That's why I said you warriors of the Green Fire World are ignorant. Of course you can refine killing intent. You just need a refinement technique. Gu King grinned. Refinement technique? Jian Wushuang was startled. You can only find the technique in the eternal chaotic world. When I was there with King Luozhen, I happened to learn a technique that could be used to refine killing intent. I can teach you that, Gu King said. I see. Jian Wushuang was delighted. Hurry and teach me the technique. Gu King imparted the technique to Jian Wushuang without hesitation. Jian Wushuang spent 3 days in meditation after learning the technique and finally mastered it. Use the technique and refine the killing intent. Be careful, the killing intent inside is strong. It'd be disastrous if you can't control it after refining too much of it, so take it slow, Gu King said. I understand. With a nod, Jian Wushuang began using the technique to refine the killing intent inside the killing bead. He was careful to only refine a tinge of killing intent. It works. Overjoyed as he was, he did not slow down. Half a day passed by in the blink of an eye. Jian Wushuang, seated in a lotus position, finally stopped what he was doing. He opened his eyes and took a deep breath. That's enough. It'd be strenuous to control the killing intent if I continue refining it, he murmured. Half a day had gone and the killing intent that he had refined was far less than 10% of the total contained in the bead. Jian Wushuang had done his utmost. Now that you've refined some of the killing intent, do you know how to apply it without my instruction? Gu King asked. Sure. Jian Wushuang grinned. He knew very well how to use the killing intent. Killing intent had an enormous impact on one's consciousness. If he combined the killing intent with his consciousness attack, one of his best tricks, it would greatly enhance his attacks. I've just created the swordplay of speed. I should make some amendments to the Heaven's Bane, which is based on the swordplay of speed, so that it contains 2 conceptions of fast and slow. The Heaven's Bane contains consciousness attacks, so all I need to do is try my best to modify it. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining. Heaven's Bane was extremely weird. It was one of his killing moves. After making a breakthrough in the sword principle and refining part of killing intent in the killing bead, there was still great potential for the killing move. Jian Wushuang immediately began researching. With the end of spring came summer, which was soon replaced by autumn. Time had really flown by. It was still rather calm in Green Fire Palace. The experts there boasted of extremely long lifespans. For them, 10,000 or even 100,000 years passed as quickly as the blink of an eye. However, time was precious to Jian Wushuang, a newcomer to the palace. This was the 8th year since he first arrived in Green Fire Palace. He stood alone in the courtyard of the mansion that he lived in. He held the Blood Mountain sword in hand and his eyes were partially open. The peach tree in front of him blossomed every season of the year. This was, of course, due to the unique landform where Green Fire Palace was located. With the passing of a breeze, a peach blossom fell gently from the branch. Before the peach blossom could reach the ground, Jian Wushuang moved. He drew out his sword and brandished it. A splendid and mighty sword light flared. The sword light was dazzling and fascinating. However, the sword light moved extremely slowly. However, It was the same sword light that cut the peach blossom, which almost reached the ground, in half. It only landed on the ground when the sword light vanished. Jian Wushuang withdrew his sword and opened his eyes. He smiled when he saw the two halves of the peach blossom. I've finally perfected Heaven's Bane after several years of research. Jian Wushuang smiled. He had completed the creation of 3 sword principles and equipped each with a suitable swordsmanship. The coalescent sword principle was equipped with bladed surge. Speed sword principle was equipped with death shadow. Scarlet Yang sword principle was equipped with Heaven's Bane. And now, the strongest and the most terrific one in his 3 sword movements was undoubtedly the Heaven's Bane. The movement was also his strongest killing move. When I created the speed sword principle, the power of Dao increased significantly. Then, I cultivated the golden image secret skill and improved my defense capability. Now I've enhanced the Heaven's Bane until it's at its prime. It's now perfectly combined with the speed sword principle and the killing intent of the killing bead. I'm now much stronger than when I was in the ancient monster clan. Now that my strength has reached this level, I won't be able to make much progress in a short time if I continue my cultivation here. It's time for an adventure on the battlefield. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly. The huge battlefield was a land of opportunities as well as the place where Green Fire Palace and Jin Gold Kingdom experts met and kill one another. Jian Wushuang held much anticipation and eagerness for the battlefield. Before this, he was not entirely confident as he was not very strong. But now, he was confident enough. Chapter 1097, Ancient God Power. Chapter 1097, Ancient God Power. Celestial Master Yu Ding told me to visit Tang Emperor before going on an adventure on the battlefield, Jian Wushuang murmured to himself. He took out a token and said, Grand Teacher. Kid, has everything been all right since coming to Green Fire Palace? Tang Emperor's response was swift. Not bad. Jian Wushuang smiled. He got straight to the point, saying, Grand Teacher, I'm planning to adventure on the battlefield. The battlefield? So soon? Tang Emperor was a little surprised but nevertheless said, Come to my palace. All right. Jian Wushuang nodded. Green Fire Palace was located on a huge floating land with many lofty mountains, each of which had a magnificent palace towering on the top. Tang Emperor, as one of the palace masters of Green Fire Palace, lived in one of those palaces. Jian Wushuang soon arrived at the palace and met Tang Emperor in the hall. Kid, I know you possessed the battle strength of medium-level Celestial Master before coming to Green Fire Palace. You've improved so much since then. Nevertheless, you shouldn't underestimate the battlefield. Not only are there many Jin Kingdom experts lying in the wait, but there are also many dangerous places there. It could turn fatal even for me. You're still too young and have enormous potential. Why not postpone your adventure until you become a Dao Master? Tang Emperor asked, trying to persuade him. Grand Teacher, I've naturally taken those elements into consideration before daring to go on the adventure. Jian Wushuang smiled. I see. I won't force you to change your mind then. I've found out some information for you. One of our Celestial Masters, Ghost Shadow, will be going to the battlefield soon. He's currently cultivating a secret skill and won't leave until 50 years later. You can wait for him to go with you. He also has the battle strength of medium-level Celestial Master. You can look after each other during your journey, Tang Emperor said. Thank you, but I intend to go alone. Jian Wushuang turned down the suggestion. Alone? Tang Emperor frowned. In his opinion, it would be risky even if Jian Wushuang went with Celestial Master Ghost Shadow. Yet Jian Wushuang wanted to adventure alone. Are you sure? Tang Emperor could not stop himself from asking. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded solemnly. He was quite aware of the dangers and would not have minded if Ghost Shadow could set off right now. However, he would have to wait for 50 years since Ghost Shadow was still in cultivation. Other Celestial Masters might not mind, but that was quite a long time for him. Besides, he was accustomed to adventuring by himself. The risks, on the other hand, the deceased Celestial Master Silver Moon, who also had the battle strength of a medium-level celestial master and strong only in terms of defense, dared to venture on the battlefield for 100 million years. Jian Wushuang was confident that he was much stronger than Silver Moon and had greater defensive power. If even Silver Moon dared to venture alone, of course he would not lose to her. Since you've made up your mind, I won't stop you. There are 3 objects that I give every expert who is going on an adventure on the battlefield. Look at them carefully. With a wave of his hand, Tang Emperor summoned 3 flowing lights that flew toward Jian Wushuang. The flowing lights floated in front of Jian Wushuang and he looked at them one by one. The first was a map made of an exotic beast's fur. This map was drawn based on the experience of the experts who had been exploring the battlefield for tens of millions of years, Tang Emperor said. Even though so much effort had been put into making this map, it nevertheless includes only a small part of the battlefield. Most of the battlefield is still uncharted territory. Now that you're going there, perhaps it'll be of use to you. Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile. He saw that many places, such as the 3 secret lands under the control of Green Fire Palace and Tai Ching Palace, were marked in the map. Many naturally dangerous places in the exploring areas were also marked out. The parts of the map unmarked were obviously uncharted areas. After all, the battlefield was too vast and unpredictable. The area that Green Fire Palace had explored for tens of thousands of years was just a small part of the entire battlefield. Jian Wushuang turned to look at the second object. It was a token. The token is used to seek assistance from people nearby in times of crisis, Tang Emperor said. Assistance? People nearby? Jian Wushuang was confused. Kid, you're quite clear about the vastness of the battlefield. When our celestial masters are in trouble, such as being chased by Jin Kingdom experts, we wouldn't able to send experts to rescue them in time. The token would make all the difference in such a scenario. The token is used to seek help from nearby allies. Once the message is sent out, Green Fire Palace experts nearby would sense the message and your position through their jade stones. Then they'll immediately come to your rescue. However, it won't work if there aren't any of our people nearby, Tang Emperor added. I see. Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile, indicating that he understood the usage of the token. Finally, he looked at the third object. It was a golden water bead. Jian Wushuang could sense the enormous power contained in it by merely looking at it, and that power felt rather familiar. It's the ancient god power. Gu King, who was in his body, pinpointed the origin of the bead before Tang Emperor could open his mouth. Ancient god power? What's that? Jian Wushuang asked, frowning. It's a power refined from the ancient god power. It's the purest form of power and has multiple uses. Even among ancient gods, it takes one of a certain level to gather this power, Gu King said in a solemn voice. Is that so? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. Tang Emperor explained, the third object is the ancient god power, which contains the purest form of power. If you absorb it, you'll experience a drastic improvement in your strength for a short period of time. For example, our celestial masters can double their strength after absorbing a drop of this power for a short time. Chapter 1098 Hit the Road. Chapter 1098 Hit the Road. Double the strength? Jian Wushuang was surprised. An increase of only 10 to 20% was huge enough once one became a celestial master. When he waysat the ancient monster clan, Celestial Master Heartwithered only improved his strength by 30% through the large and exquisite spirit gathering spell formation. Yet a drop of the ancient god power could double a celestial master's strength. This alone was a testament to how miraculous the ancient god power was. That's for ordinary warriors. It's a different story for you, Gu King suddenly said. What do you mean? Jian Wushuang was curious. The ancient god power is the outcome of the ancient god clan. Therefore, only real ancient gods can use the full extent of the power. Since Celestial Masters of Green Fire Palace don't possess any ancient god bloodline, it can only double their strength. But you're the real Imperial Kinsman Ancient God. You can improve your strength trifold or even fourfold. Unless it really that impressive? Jian Wushuang's heart was filled with joy. Of course, the ancient god power is extremely popular in the eternal chaotic world. Though it's not as effective for ordinary experts, it can be enormously helpful for experts such as Tang Emperor and Void Temple Master, Gu King said solemnly. In addition, the ancient god power can't be stored by ordinary ancient gods. Normally, only those who are stronger than 6-star gold-armored ancient gods can gather the power. Therefore, it's rare even in the eternal chaotic world. I've seen ancient god power in the Fire Points exchange office before, but I didn't bring it up because it's worth too many points. I never thought that Green Fire Palace would be so extravagant and present a drop of the power to every expert setting off for the battlefield. Extravagant? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. It was indeed extravagant if only those stronger than 6-star gold-armored ancient god could gather the ancient god power. If Green Fire Palace can give away the ancient god power so easily, I'm guessing they have plenty of it. Ask him how they collected so much ancient god power, Gu King said. Jian Wushuang nodded and inquired about this as suggested. Tang Emperor did not conceal the truth. There is probably plenty of the power on the huge battlefield. The Green Fire Palace experts could sometimes find some while venturing outside. How much they get depends on their luck. It varies from several drops to over 100 drops. Tang Emperor smiled. We obtained much of it in the past, but we've also spent a lot of it. Hence, we try to be conservative and only present a drop to those who are leaving for the battlefield. If you want to acquire more of this power, you may exchange for it in the Fire Points exchange office. It's 5,000 fire points for each drop. I see. Jian Wushuang appeared to have deepened his understanding while Gu King was shocked. There are that many pockets of ancient god power in the battlefield? Could there be top experts of the ancient god clan among those who fought on the battlefield? Gu King murmured. Now that I've given you all the objects, you can decide when to depart. The battlefield is unusually dangerous. Be careful and come back alive, Tang Emperor said, leaving him a warning. Thank you, Grand Teacher. Jian Wushuang left after expressing his gratitude. He headed straight for the battlefield after bidding Tang Emperor farewell. However, before doing so, he discharged his original body. Though I'm confident about my strength and defensive power, I won't be in danger of losing my life if I keep my original body here. He also left behind some precious treasures such as the Mountain River Map and the spaceship. The Mountain River Map was a chaos divine treasure. Mighty as it was, he could not effectively exert its power. The same could be said for his 9-province seal. He dared not to use the spaceship as danger loomed in every corner of the battlefield. He left them all behind as he saw no use for them there. He took only the blood-killing plate armor, blood mountain sword, and killing bead with his world body and headed for the road. With the Green Fire World being the center of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang reached the battlefield as soon as he stepped out of Green Fire Palace. In the vast expanse of the ruins were large amounts of building debris, left untouched by the wind even after hundreds of millions of years. The Green Fire Palace experts have searched the battlefield nearby numerous times, so there's no need to linger here. Others would have found most of the opportunities available, and the rest would be leaden hard-to-find places. Holding the map made of animal fur, Jian Wushuang pondered for a short moment before an idea struck him. I'm going to explore the uncharted territories. The places that experts from the palace had explored were only a small part of the vast battlefield, as were the treasures and opportunities found. Most of them were still left untouched and undiscovered in the uncharted territories. Since he was here for the treasures and opportunities, he ought to explore places that no one had ever been to. Thisseria is still far from the closest uncharted territory. It will take me over a decade to get there even if I rush over. I need to hurry up. He then began running at full speed. Since he was now at the explored area, there was no need for him to worry about natural dangers as those were clearly marked on the map. Thus he ran unbridled. He did not come across even a single person in the decade he spent rushing over to the closest uncharted territory. Neither Jin Kingdom nor Green Fire Palace experts appeared on his way there. Chapter 1099 Golden Armored Man Underneath the Stone Pillar. Chapter 1099 Golden Armored Man Underneath the Stone Pillar. A scarlet-robed figure holding a long sword flitted across the air above the battlefield. Jian Wushuang held a wine pot in hand, drinking from it as he flew. It has been over a decade and I haven't seen a single person. How boring. He shook his head. Though there were a number of experts adventuring on this huge battlefield, the chances of meeting them were very low. He had not met even a single person in the past dozen of years. It was natural for him to feel a little upset as he had not cultivated for long and had never been through these many dull days like this. Jian Wushuang, you will soon enter uncharted territories. Be careful, Gu King warned. Got it. Jian Wushuang nodded and put aside the wine pot. With a shake of his body, the smell of wine completely dissipated. Half a day later, he reached the uncharted territories. He slowed down and became even more cautious than before. There, all he saw was still endless battlefield ruins. Didn't you use to cultivate the Scarlet Eye secret skill of the ancient god clan? You can put it to use now, Gu King said. Scarlet Eye secret skill? Jian Wushuang was doubtful. That skill could be used to see through all illusions. It would have been useful if the battlefield was shrouded in mist that limited his vision. However, he could see clearly without any obstacle whatsoever here. It's not just for looking through nihility and illusion skills, but also for seeing things more clearly. Gu King continued, you're on a battlefield that houses many treasures. Look at the ruins. They may seem ordinary, but they might turn out to be treasures. You can't see the treasures with the naked eye, but the Scarlet Eye secret skill can increase your chances of finding them. I see. Jian Wushuang agreed. He immediately used the Scarlet Eye secret skill. He began to gain a broader view as well as a clearer and more accurate vision. Jian Wushuang continued to venture in the uncharted territories at a leisurely pace. Just like that, 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. Jian Wushuang, who had been moving ahead, halted abruptly. What's wrong? Gu King asked. Instead of replying, Jian Wushuang pinpointed a direction and rushed toward it. After a moment, he arrived in the space above a desolate ground. He overlooked the ground while beaming joyously. He had a clear view of the ground while suspended midair. There were long spears scattered all over the ground, all of which were covered in a layer of dust. Their power was also constrained, making them seem ordinary. If someone passed by without looking carefully, he might not be able to detect these long spears. Since Jian Wushuang was using the Scarlet Eye secret skill, he immediately recognized them. These long spears were magic weapons, or more precisely, emperor weapons of peak level. There were even so many of them here, to boot. Jian Wushuang waved his hand at the ground, summoning a wind that blew through and cleared the dust on the long spears. The long spears were restored to their original appearance. The black long spears were made of a material that Jian Wushuang had never seen before. Since they were identical in shape and size, he assumed that they were systematically made magic weapons. There were over 120 of them. Top-grade Emperor weapons are worth 10 fire points in the Fire Point Exchange office. That means there are about 1,000 points here. 1,000 fire points were equivalent to 1/5 of the ancient god power. Considering the minimal effort he had put in to obtain these long spears, of course he would be delighted. He then collected all the long spears with a wave of his hand and continued on his way. An ancient bronze stone pillar towered over the fringe of ruins left in between two bare mountains. The pillar was huge, with a height of over 10,000 feet and the width of a house. Patterns of golden dragons and phoenix lined the pillar, lending it an air of magnificence. The most attention-grabbing detail was an ancient, grandiose word carved in the center of the pillar. The word was kill. The word imbued the magnificent stone pillar with an impressively potent killing intent. An elegant man in golden armor sat under the pillar, his eyes focused on the word kill on the pillar. He was so transfixed that he could not look away. The man had remained under the pillar for hundreds of years. Suddenly, The man's expression changed and his eyelids flew open, revealing a pair of eyes that glinted with sharp golden light. He then got up and passed through the wall beside him. A scarlet-robed figure was flying over from the opposite direction that the armored man had gone. That is, the moment Jian Wushuang arrived at the huge pillar, he also saw the man in golden armor under it. I finally found someone after having traveling through this battlefield for so long. Though he was smiling, his heart felt heavy. The token that could sense his allies was not responding. That meant he had come across a Jin Kingdom expert. Golden armor? People from the Jin Kingdom wear golden armors. It might be a kind of systematically made magic weapon used for defense. Swoosh! The man in golden armor turned illusionary as he charged toward Jian Wushuang. Be careful, he's an advanced celestial master, Gu King said. He's an advanced celestial master? The same level as Patriarch of Empyrean Glory? Jian Wushuang's pupils contracted in shock and his expression became serious. However, he did not entertain thoughts of escaping. Before entering the Green Fire Palace, he would have immediately fled in such a scenario. Things were different now. I finally met someone on the battlefield and he's from the Jin Kingdom to boot, Jian Wushuang thought. This is my first encounter and fight with a Jin Kingdom expert. I'll definitely not retreat from this battle. Chapter 1100 First Battle. Chapter 1100 First Battle. Jian Wushuang's urge to battle reached its peak. He had drawn the Blood Mountain sword long ago. On the other hand, the man in gold armor, who had dashed forward at great speed from the stone pillar, looked extremely murderous. You're foolish to not have escaped after seeing me charge across. The man in gold armor's gaze was extremely cold. A giant gold hammer appeared in each of his hands, each one of them billions of caddies heavy. The man struck just as he appeared before Jian Wushuang, the two giant hammers raining down upon Jian Wushuang at the same time. They certainly did not waste any time on words. Once the man in gold armor realized that Jian Wushuang was not one of his people, he immediately struck, and with a potentially lethal blow to boot. The Green Fire Palace had been warring with the Jin Kingdom for exactly 5 million years, and there were countless killings on both sides. As a result, both parties were already hell-bent on destroying each other. Humph! Jian Wushuang snorted coldly. At the same instant when the man in gold armor swung his giant hammers, Jian Wushuang had slashed angrily with the Blood Mountain sword, boundless power in his move. It was a swordsmanship called Bladed Surge, from his coalescence sword principle. Bam! Bam! Two loud sounds from their weapons' clash rang out, as the giant hammers smashed simultaneously into the Blood Mountain sword. Jian Wushuang could feel the huge force of the blow and his figure shook. His arms were also a little numb from absorbing the impact of the blow. Burst forth! Shouted Jian Wushuang angrily. The hidden force within the bladed surge formed into the second kind of power, and it was also released. The man in gold armor said, as his expression changed slightly. His figure also could not help but retreat by a few steps. Heaven's bane! Jian Wushuang grasped his sword with both hands. He could feel vast amounts of ancient god power flowing into his arms, and soon the Blood Mountain sword was giving off a huge blood-red glow. He then released the extremely powerful sword light toward his opponent. The man in gold armor's gaze was electrifying and he was consumed by killing intent. In an instant, he channeled the power of an advanced celestial master and swung one of his hammers at Jian Wushuang with matching ferocity. The blow easily smashed through the void, destroying everything in its path. Both attacks were alarmingly strong and powerful, and there was a loud booming sound as they clashed. Jian Wushuang's figure flew backward as if it had been shot from a cannon, but the man in gold armor merely took a step back. From the clash, it was pretty evident that the man in gold armor had the upper hand. After arriving at the Green Fire Palace, I spent a year in the Tai Ching Palace practicing my skills. I then created the speed sword principle, and my strength has indeed increased, but the biggest strength of my sword principle is till speed. It's not suited for power, and currently, I am only on par with a common advanced celestial master. This expert from the Jin Kingdom's strength, on the other hand, absolutely rivals that of a top-advanced celestial master, Jian Wushuang thought. The man was, however, looking at Jian Wushuang in amazement. He lowered his voice and said, "From your aura, you're merely at the eternal realm, but you've possessed such great battle strength. Why haven't I heard of your existence amongst the experts of the Green Fire Palace?" "My name is Jian Wushuang," replied Jian Wushuang coldly. His feet began to move the instant he stopped talking. A huge gaping hole immediately appeared in the void below Jian Wushuang's feet as his figure appeared phantom-like in a flash before the man in gold armor. He then swung his sword at his opponent with a swordsmanship that was weird and hard to discern. "This speed," the man in gold armor said. He was surprised as he saw Jian Wushuang's attack drawing near. His opponent's speed was extremely great. The man immediately swung his giant hammers simultaneously. Jian Wushuang, on the other hand, put on a perfect display of the speed of his swordsmanship. Clang, 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 clang. As sounds of metal smashing into each other rang out, the void around the combatants had completely collapsed. Ripple after ripple of the impact from the clash spread out with amazing speed, resulting in the ground beneath them, which was already ruined, to be damaged further. It looked even more terrible. The man in gold armor was already striking with maximum effort, and even though each blow of his hammer carried huge power, Jian Wushuang could obviously handle the impact from their blows easily. He seemed to not be affected in the least bit and was clearly holding the upper hand in terms of speed. "Humph, I don't have time to fool around with you," the man in gold armor grunted coldly. Suddenly, his body gave off a golden glow and two coarse and thick arms appeared out from the top of his shoulders, holding similar giant gold hammers like his other two arms. "4 arms?" asked Jian Wushuang. He could not help but be stunned. What secret skill is this? 4 giant hammers came swinging at Jian Wushuang simultaneously. All of a sudden, he was flustered. Jian Wushuang could easily handle the attacks from 2 giant hammers. He even held the upper hand. Now, however, 4 giant hammers were swinging at him at the same time. The tables had completely turned on him, and he was even having trouble blocking the attacks. Dunk, 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 dunk. Heavy sounds rang across the sky as the giant hammers rained down on Jian Wushuang with alarming speed. He steeled himself and evaded the first attack. In the next instant, however, a fierce gleam flashed in his eyes. "Die!" Jian Wushuang hissed chillingly. A sword light was formed. Anyone who saw it would find it extremely beautiful and sorrowful at the same time. As it shot out toward Jian Wushuang's opponent, it blocked out all light from the surrounding sky. The man in gold armor could not help but stare at it as well. As he looked at the sword light, his pupils suddenly contracted. To his naked eye, the sword light was moving very slowly, but somehow his consciousness told him that it was coming toward him at an extremely fast speed. Also, as the sword light was formed, a faint echo from a sword also rang out. All of a sudden, a fearsome consciousness attack was directed at the man in gold armor. Not only did Jian Wushuang launch the consciousness attack, but he also utilized a portion of the killing intent inside his killing bead. He combined the consciousness attack with his killing intent on a direct assault on his opponent. What? The man felt his brain hurt, but luckily for him, it subsided quickly. He then lifted one of his hands, wishing to block Jian Wushuang's physical attack with a giant hammer, but it was moving too quickly for him. As he had also been momentarily stunned by the consciousness attack, there was no way he could completely block his opponent's sword. At last, the sword light slashed through the raised arm. The strong tearing force ripped his armor apart and sliced off half of the arm. The man was not flustered even after suffering the wound. His figure had retreated far away, and he turned to leave after giving Jian Wushuang a look of mixed emotions. Chapter 1101 One of Ours. Chapter 1101 One of Ours. Has he left? Jian Wushuang had no intention of chasing after the man in gold armor at all. In truth, even if his opponent remained behind, he had to leave. After all, he had expended his entire repertoire of swordsmanship but only managed to cut off one of the man's arms. His opponent could regenerate his arm back instantly, and he did not seem to have lost any of his battle strength. If the battle continued on, most likely Jian Wushuang would have lost. I perfected my death shadow by combining both essences of speed and slowness in it. Most importantly, my consciousness attack coupled with killing intent should have been even more powerful, but he easily blocked my consciousness attack. He didn't even seem to be affected much by it, thought Jian Wushuang, secretly surprised. To Jian Wushuang, even an advanced celestial master would have trouble blocking such an attack, much less be so unaffected by it. He's also a celestial master like Empyrean Patriarch, but this man is much stronger than him. His consciousness is especially powerful, muttered Jian Wushuang. These experts from the Jin Kingdom came from the eternal chaotic world, and more or less they have spent some time trying to make a living there. Naturally, they'll not be lacking in quality. The Green Fire Palace can hold its own with the Jin Kingdom because it has gained many treasures due to its strategic location, which is situated on a huge battlefield. If not, Gu King's voice rang in Jian Wushuang's mind again. Jian Wushuang could not hold in his laughter. He did not think too much about it, however, and he walked directly toward the bronze-colored stone pillar which the man in gold armor had been standing at previously. As he came to the front of the pillar, he saw the word, "Kill," carved into its center. The moment he saw the word, "Kill! Kill!" roar after roar echoed in his mind as he felt a terrible surge of killing intent engulfing him. His pupils shrank violently as his figure flew backward by a few steps. He only lifted his head again once he was far away from the pillar. What a fearsome rush of killing intent it was. In fact, it's much stronger than that of mine, which was made using the killing bead, thought Jian Wushuang secretly. At the same time, he also realized something. No wonder that expert from the Jin Kingdom could withstand my consciousness attack easily. So he has been cultivating his skills all this while at this stone pillar. The terrible killing intent emanating from the word on the stone pillar could have been used to train one's consciousness. Evidently, the man in gold armor had stayed in front of the pillar to train his consciousness. As such, his consciousness was naturally extremely robust. Jian Wushuang, the killing intent in this word is formidable. Do you want to follow the Jin Kingdom expert's lead and stay here for a while more to practice? Gu King asked. Stay here to train my consciousness? Jian Wushuang considered the proposal for a while before finally shaking his head and replying, No, even though the surge of killing intent from this pillar is powerful, so is my consciousness. It won't have much effect on me, and it's not worth my time. Furthermore, the man from the Jin Kingdom has just left, and who's to say if he'll return after a while? Maybe he'll even bring other experts from the Jin Kingdom here. Therefore, it's still better for me to leave. Jian Wushuang made his decision and immediately left to seek his fortune in the vast battlefield surrounding him. Time slowly passed. The battlefield was too huge. Even though many celestial masters of the Green Fire Palace and the Jin Kingdom wandering about the battlefield, it was too vast for them to be noticeable. For the next 30 years, the last person Jian Wushuang met was the man in gold armor. He never saw anyone else. He spent all his energy to look for opportunities on the battlefield during this time. There were many opportunities to be found on the battlefield. Just the marks left behind by experts as they battled alone were numerous. Even though they had been made a very long time ago, they still contained much profound meaning. These could also be considered as opportunities. Jian Wushuang was sitting quietly by himself on a hill, but he kept his gaze fixed on the ground below him. There was a huge imprint of a claw on the ground. 5 incredibly deep claw marks could be seen. The claw marks stretched for 50,000 kilometers. Even though they were made many years ago, their power still had a chilling effect. It was an extremely violent and swift sort of power, and there were even signs of pure yang energy from the marks left behind. Jian Wushuang had been on the hill for exactly 2 years. During this time, he tried to understand the profundity of the message left behind by the claw marks. The move made with these claws was similar to his own Scarlet Yang Sword principle, They were both direct and made with pure yang energy. Even so, it was just a mark left during battle after all. Its owner had not left it behind on purpose, and there was no message contained in it. As such, Jian Wushuang felt that spending 2 years trying to figure it out was enough and got up to leave. He continued to move forward in the void, a faint smile on his lips. He had spent the past 30 years wandering in this uncharted territory by himself. Along the way, he met with some opportunities, and even though they were small ones, overall they increased his strength considerably. He had also managed to collect a few magic weapons and had managed to accumulate more than 2,000 points, therefore he considered himself to have profited quite a lot all in all. Just at this moment. All of a sudden his expression changed and he stopped subconsciously. He fished out a token. It was the same token Tang Emperor gave him, and it could help him sense nearby companions. It was the first time he had encountered anyone from his own side since wandering around the battlefield after leaving the Green Fire Palace. Finally, I've managed to find someone on my side after all this time, and not to mention in this unknown territory. I'd better go over to say hi, Jian Wushuang muttered with a faint smile. He then allowed the token to guide him toward the stranger. 2 figures were floating side by side in front of a hill made up entirely of purple gems. One of them had a slender-looking face and was clad in black robes. He grew a beard and seemed to be of middle age. The other was a bright-eyed, short and hunchbacked elder. "I can feel it. That thing should be underneath this hill," said the hunchbacked elder. "Since that's the case, what are we waiting for? Let's go directly in," said the middle-aged man in black robes. "Let's not hurry. Someone is approaching," said the hunchback as he turned his gaze to the void at their side, his face expressionless and inscrutable. Indeed, a figure was approaching slowly along his line of sight. "Luckily, it's one of us," the hunchbacked elder laughed. Chapter 1102, Aren't Welcome. Chapter 1102, Aren't Welcome. In no time at all, Jian Wushuang, who was clad in a scarlet robe and carrying a long sword on his back, had appeared in front of the 2 men. "So, it's Celestial Master Meng Long and Celestial Master Yi," he said, cupping his hands together toward them. "An Eternal Realm expert." The black-clad Celestial Master Meng Long and Celestial Master Yi, the hunchbacked elder, looked strangely at Jian Wushuang. "If I'm not mistaken, you must be Jian Wushuang who just joined the Green Fire Palace, right?" asked Celestial Master Yi. "That's me," said Jian Wushuang, smiling slightly. "Even though I've been wandering around this battlefield all these years, I've not returned back to the palace for a long time now. A good friend there mentioned you when he communicated to me, however. It said that you're the son of Nan?" Celestial Master Yi asked, his tone slightly cold. Jian Wushuang was stunned for a while before nodding slightly. When your father was at the Green Fire Palace, he acted somewhat arrogantly. To think that you're even more unrestrained than he was. You're just but an Eternal Realm expert that got to possess the battle strength of a medium Celestial Master due to some extraordinary reasons. Even so, there are countless dangers in this battlefield that can kill you, yet you travel alone? Furthermore, you've even ventured so deeply into uncharted territory?" Celestial Master Yi said in a low, deep voice. Celestial Master Meng Long, who was standing beside him, looked at Jian Wushuang with a frown as well. One had to understand that the 2 Celestial Masters had ventured into this part of the battlefield together even though they were amongst the strongest of the medium Celestial Masters. They were also of advanced age and had possessed many life-saving skills. Most of the medium Celestial Masters of the Green Fire Palace dared not venture into this uncharted part of the battlefield alone. Take Celestial Master Silver Moon for example. Even though she traveled alone, she only wandered around known territory. It was supposed to be a low-risk zone, yet she met with danger and was killed by experts from the Jin Kingdom. So, for Jian Wushuang to venture alone into uncharted territory and go deep into the area to boot, was an act no different to courting his own death in the eyes of the 2 Celestial Masters. Jian Wushuang did not know how to react to Celestial Master Yi's questions. He felt they were both funny and annoying. Even so, he thought he should reply. I dare to venture alone into this uncharted area because I have support, you two kind sirs. Support? What support? You're way too arrogant, young man. You don't know how dangerous this battlefield can be. You'll regret once you encounter these dangers yourself, Celestial Master Yi said in a tone that sounded as if he was reprimanding Jian Wushuang. Fine, since he wants to court his own death, there's nothing we can say to change his mind. Celestial Master Meng Long spoke up as well in a cold tone. Jian Wushuang, if you don't have anything much, leave us. Also, let me remind you. You should quickly return back to the Green Fire Palace before you get into a really dangerous situation. Come back when you've become a Dao Master. Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly as he heard the Celestial Master's comments. Since that's the case, I shall take my leave. He immediately turned and left after speaking. The Celestial Masters did not pay much attention to Jian Wushuang, and they casually walked toward the hill made of purple gems after he left. After a short while, however, roar! An angry roar accompanied by an alarming level of murderous aura rose up from the depths of the hill. Soon, two figures were also scampering out of the same spot. They were obviously Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long. Quickly run! Celestial Master Yi shouted. In an instant, both of them fled as fast as they could toward the void in front of them. Just as they dashed out from underneath the mountain, a weirdly shaped exotic beast made up entirely of purple gems emerged. Lightning crackled along its purple scales, and the killing intent it emanated engulfed the entire area. It immediately went after the two Celestial Masters with alarming speed. Jian Wushuang was traversing absent-mindedly in the void above the battlefield. How does it feel to be turned away, kid? Gu King teased. I had just wanted to exchange greetings. Who would have expected them to not welcome me? Jian Wushuang replied, a weird expression on his face. Because of your mother, I'm afraid only a few of the experts in the Green Fire Palace will choose not to ignore you. If you wish to earn their respect, you have to prove your strength to them. Let them believe in your potential. As for now, you haven't achieved that, said Gu King, laughing. I know that, replied Jian Wushuang with a bitter laugh. Suddenly, what's going on? Jian Wushuang took out his token again, and through it he could clearly sense that Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long were coming in his direction with alarming speed. The distance between them kept diminishing. Such speed! This is an uncharted territory after all, and even I do not dare to travel too quickly. They don't seem to be traversing. Could it be that they're fleeing? Jian Wushuang thought. He stopped immediately and turned, rushing toward the two Celestial Masters. Soon he saw what was happening. He could see the Celestial Masters fleeing for their lives, and a ferocious exotic beast covered entirely with purple scales was chasing after them. The exotic beast was giving off an extremely high amount of murderous aura, giving Jian Wushuang the chills. What's that? Jian Wushuang asked as he frowned. It's a beast puppet, replied Gu King. Beast puppet? Jian Wushuang asked, momentarily stunned. He had only heard of puppet fighters, not beast puppets before. They are puppets made by experts from the eternal chaotic world by directly refining exotic beasts. Even though they are puppets, they've retained their original consciousnesses. The beast puppet you see most likely even has the battle strength of an exceptional realm celestial master, Gu King explained. Is that so? No wonder the two celestial masters are fleeing, said Jian Wushuang as he finally knew what the beast exactly was. Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long could be considered as extremely strong amongst their peers, and they could have handled one or two ordinary advanced celestial masters. They would definitely not be fleeing in such a sorry fashion. They were, however, no match at all for this beast puppet, even if they joined forces. The beast puppet possesses amazing speed and should be catching up with them any time now, Jian Wushuang said, his face stern. In the next instant, the Blood Mountain sword had appeared in his hand, and his figure immediately dashed forward. Oh no, oh no! The faces of Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long were looking very terrible at the moment. The former was even covered with blood and his aura was weak. Evidently, he was seriously wounded and neither of them could have possibly survived if the beast puppet caught up with them. Just at this moment, they noticed that Jian Wushuang's figure was charging directly toward them from the void in front of them. Chapter 1103, Strike. Chapter 1103, Strike. Jian Wushuang. Not only is the kid not running away after seeing that we're being chased, instead, he's stupidly charging toward us. Is he looking to die? The Celestial Masters got even more angry after seeing Jian Wushuang dashing toward them. Kid, run quickly. Celestial Master Yi even shouted sternly at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang did not heed his warning. He fixed his cold stare on the exotic beast. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang passed them by, appearing before the purple exotic beast. What's the kid doing? Does he really want to die? He's insane. The scene unfolding behind them shocked both Celestial Masters. Very quickly, they understood what Jian Wushuang was up to. His look grew more murderous as the power emanating from the Blood Mountain sword increased as well. He then slashed at the exotic beast with it. Heaven's bane! Jian Wushuang cried in a chilling tone. In an instant he unleashed the full might of his power. The purple beast growled and swung a palm at Jian Wushuang casually. It wanted to smash the ant in front of it into pieces. Crash! A low crashing noise rang out and many sparks flew. A large amount of power began to disperse into the surroundings. Jian Wushuang's expression turned grim, and all of a sudden, his figure was swatted away and it crashed into a barren mountain at his side. The mountain split into two from the impact and huge amounts of loose rocks began raining down. The exotic beast, however, had stopped charging forward. Many scales had fallen off its palm that clashed with the Blood Mountain sword. Just like this, Jian Wushuang managed to stop the beast puppet's figure from moving forward. Boom! There was a loud booming sound as large amounts of loose rocks began flying out. Jian Wushuang re-emerged from the remains of the mountain. Unexpectedly, his aura was still strong and his complexion healthy. Evidently, the blow from the beast had not harmed him much. Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Menglong, you two should leave first. Leave this fellow to me, Jian Wushuang said with a slight smile. The two Celestial Masters were a little dumbstruck now. They had personally experienced the terror of the purple beast, and Celestial Master Yi was seriously wounded by a blow from its palm. He had managed to survive because he used a protective treasure to absorb part of the impact from the blow. All in all, even if the exotic beast was not as strong as a real Celestial Master who had reached the exceptional realm, it was not too much weaker. How could Jian Wushuang had survived that blow and remained unscathed, they thought. They were shocked. Extremely shocked, to be exact. After recovering, they immediately reacted to his suggestion. Neither of them hesitated to accept his offer. Jian Wushuang, be careful yourself, said Celestial Master Yi. He then hurriedly left with Celestial Master Menglong. Roar! The purple beast growled as it saw the two Celestial Masters leaving. The purple lightning surrounding its body began flowing, and its figure immediately gave chase. Jian Wushuang, however, had also begun to move. Stop, I say! He appeared phantom-like at its side, brandishing the Blood Mountain sword at the same time. In a flash, he had struck 4 times, all of them with amazing speed. They were directed straight at the beast's eyes. The beast had no choice but to shift its figure away from the attacks. At the same time, it struck at Jian Wushuang with the same palm, and this time, it was imbued with purple thunderbolts. As such, it was more powerful than the last attack. Jian Wushuang shifted his figure and dodged the attack easily. The palm of the beast struck the void where Jian Wushuang used to stand, smashing it into dust. The world-shattering power of the blow caused Jian Wushuang's pupils to contract involuntarily. What power! This beast puppet's battle strength is borderline Celestial Master's exceptional realm, Jian Wushuang thought secretly. He could not withstand the repeated attacks from a Celestial Master at the exceptional realm, but he possessed exceptional defensive capabilities and could still hold the beast up for a while more. Buzz! The void around them shook. The purple scales of the exotic beast had stood up after it missed its target, and huge amounts of purple thunderbolts rose from its body, shattering the void around it. This power then formed into a giant electric net dropping down upon Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang struck with his sword. As the powerful sword light hit the electrical net, however, it quickly dissipated. My attack couldn't slash the net open? Jian Wushuang thought. He was shocked, and to make matters worse, the net was still descending upon him, its momentum unchecked. Whoosh! An awe-inspiring amount of power burst forth from Jian Wushuang's body, but it quickly dissipated after a while. Jian Wushuang was still standing perfectly well at his original spot. He raised a hand to pat the corner of his robe, but he began to smile faintly. The beast puppet strength is close to Celestial Master's exceptional realm and much higher than mine. That said, it still will be unable to hit me, thought Jian Wushuang, secretly pleased. Roar! The beast growled as it fixed its murderous gaze on Jian Wushuang. Because of him, the Celestial Masters had long escaped. It's extremely strong in terms of attack, speed, and defense. I'm not its match, and I'd better leave while I can, Jian Wushuang thought, smiling slightly. He then immediately put his Dragon Blood secret skill to use. The first level of the secret skill increased Jian Wushuang's speed by tenfold immediately. He fled with amazing speed, and the purple beast was hell-bent on giving chase, but the distance between them kept increasing. Soon, its target was completely gone from its line of sight. The Celestial Masters were quietly waiting for Jian Wushuang amongst ruins. Both of them had mixed emotions. Not long after, Jian Wushuang's figure appeared, traversing toward them from the void at a considerable distance away. Are you two all right? Jian Wushuang asked, laughing heartily as he saw the two Celestial Masters, especially the elderly hunchback. I was only slightly wounded, and will recover after doing the closed-door training for a while, replied Celestial Master. He then lifted his head to look at Jian Wushuang before continuing in a tone that made him sound guilty. Jian Wushuang, before, he said. What happened earlier was a trivial matter. Please don't take it to heart, Jian Wushuang laughed. It was the truth, he had not taken it seriously. I'm ashamed, I really am, sighed Celestial Master Yi as he shook his head. Jian Wushuang, we were too conceited. We would like to apologize and thank you for your help earlier on, Celestial Master Meng Long chipped in. They felt ashamed of their actions from the bottom of their heart. Previously, they had not welcomed Jian Wushuang when he came over to exchange greetings. Celestial Master Yi was especially hostile to him and even reprimanded him for a bit. He had described Jian Wushuang's action of venturing alone into the uncharted territory as akin to courting his own death. But what happened after that? If it were not for Jian Wushuang's intervention, both of them would have died there and then in the hands of the beast puppet. Chapter 1104, Chaos Divine Thunder. Chapter 1104, Chaos Divine Thunder. Jian Wushuang, I was capitalizing too much on my seniority when I spoke earlier. I'm sorry, Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang felt it extremely funny to see two men continuously apologizing to him. He understood that the two Celestial Masters had encouraged him to return back to the Green Fire Palace earlier on because they did not know the extent of his strength. They had just spoken in a harsher tone, but they had good intentions. As such, Jian Wushuang did not take it to heart. Furthermore, when they were being chased by the exotic beast, they had told him to flee when they saw him charging toward them. It proved that even though they did not welcome him, they saw him as one of their own. Both of you don't have to do this, Jian Wushuang said. He laughed helplessly. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Jian Wushuang began to ask the Celestial Masters about the beast. What's going on with that purple beast earlier on? The Celestial Masters exchanged glances before the old hunchback began to explain. Two of the Daos I created have something to do with thunderbolts. When I passed by the purple mountain, I could sense something deep inside me, as if there was something within its depths. As such, I sneaked with Celestial Master Meng Long into its core to check it out. Indeed, I saw a giant axe at the bottom of the mountain. The axe was giving off an extremely strong aura, and electricity was flowing around it. It was definitely a very good piece of treasure, but when I decided to take it for my own, the purple beast appeared and grievously wounded me with a swipe of its palm. Both of us had to put aside all thoughts about keeping the giant axe and we began to flee. The exotic beast, however, kept chasing after us. As for what happened next, I believe you saw it. Is that so? Jian Wushuang asked as he nodded. Secretly, however, he began thinking. A magic weapon that could give off such a strong aura is most definitely not an emperor weapon. At the very least, it has to be a chaos magic weapon. It might even be a chaos magic treasure. Chaos magic weapons were much more valuable than emperor weapons. High-level weapons of this kind were worth even more, and if the giant axe turned out to be a chaos magic treasure, it would be a weapon of the rarest kind. Jian Wushuang could not ignore the fact that a rare treasure that was at least a chaos magic weapon had been discovered. Celestial Master Yi, I hear that you use a giant axe as a weapon? Asked Jian Wushuang. He had got some intel on various experts of the Green Fire Palace from Celestial Master Yu Ding long ago, and because of this, he managed to recognize the two Celestial Masters at a glance. Naturally, he also knew what sort of weapons they used. Right, I use a giant axe as my weapon. That one hidden underneath the purple mountain is very suitable for me, replied Celestial Master Yi solemnly. Since that's the case, we should think of a way to get it, said Jian Wushuang cheerfully. The Celestial Masters looked at each other. They had the same intent as Jian Wushuang, but they also felt that they were incapable of getting the giant axe. Jian Wushuang, do you have a way to take the axe from the purple beast? Asked Celestial Master Yi as he turned his gaze toward Jian Wushuang. There's a way, said Jian Wushuang with a faint smile. If I didn't guess wrongly, the beast is neither interested in the axe, nor has it been tasked to protect the weapon. If not, it would not have chased after you two for such a great distance. The Celestial Masters nodded profusely, evidently agreeing with Jian Wushuang's statement. If that's the case, things will be much easier. I'll distract the beast and lure it away, while you two take the opportunity to sneak the giant axe out, said Jian Wushuang mirthfully. The plan is easy to execute, but our main concern is still the purple beast's strength. Jian Wushuang, can you escape in one piece if you try to distract its attention? Asked Celestial Master Yi with a frown. I can, replied Jian Wushuang confidently. Didn't I escape in one piece just now? The Celestial Masters believed him upon seeing how confident he was. Since that's the case, we'll be relying on you, Jian Wushuang. We'll discuss how to share the axe after we've succeeded, Celestial Master Yi said. Fine, said Celestial Master Meng Long as he nodded solemnly. No problem, said Jian Wushuang, before laughing carefreely, as if he did not care who the axe landed with. Soon, Jian Wushuang moved out. He retraced his steps back to the mountain made up of purple gems and then headed directly underground. He arrived at the bottom of the mountain and saw the huge axe not long after. That's the axe, asked Jian Wushuang as he became aware of and began to perceive the weapon's presence. The aura emanating from the axe made him a little surprised. From the aura it's giving off, it should be a chaos magic treasure, but somehow it's incomplete. If I didn't guess wrongly, this giant axe should be damaged, Gu King's voice rang out. A broken piece of chaos magic treasure? Said Jian Wushuang, momentarily stunned. Jian Wushuang himself possessed a damaged chaos divine treasure, the Mountain River map. He knew that the damage would devalue the item considerably, but even so, it was still more valuable than ordinary chaos magic weapons. This is... Gu King suddenly grew curious. What's wrong? Jian Wushuang asked multiple times. You're in luck, Jian Wushuang, replied Gu King, laughing. What do you mean? Asked Jian Wushuang, bewildered. There's no question that the giant axe is indeed a damaged chaos magic treasure, and that the axe is of little use to you, a sword user. There's chaos divine thunder hidden within it, however, and that'll come in handy for you, said Gu King. Chaos divine thunder? asked Jian Wushuang, a little stunned. It's extremely powerful and rarely seen even in the eternal chaotic world. My guess is that the axe's owner was extremely strong when he or she was alive, and skilled in Thunderbolt Dao. It's probably the reason why he hid Chaos the Divine Thunder in his weapon. Most likely he wanted to surprise his enemy, replied Gu King. Jian Wushuang, didn't you use to practice the Divine Yin Thunder on Star Island? Asked Gu King. Yes, Jian Wushuang replied as he nodded subconsciously. He had mastered the secret skill on Star Island, and it was a rather powerful technique. When he was still weak, the technique helped him in many ways, but after his strength grew, he seldom used it anymore, especially now that his battle strength was already on par with an advanced celestial master. After all, if he still wanted to improve on the technique, he had to acquire plenty of power from thunderbolts. As such, he had no way of improving on it while in the Green Fire world. Now that Gu King brought the technique up, Jian Wushuang thought. Gu King, are you trying to suggest that the Chaos Divine Thunder can help improve my Divine Yin Thunder's secret skill? Asked Jian Wushuang. Of course, replied Gu King cheerfully. The Chaos Divine Thunder is high-level stuff. Just a thunderbolt could help your Divine Yin Thunder's secret skill break through into level 3. When that happens, your overall strength will definitely have improved greatly. Chapter 1105, Getting the Axe. Chapter 1105, Getting the Axe. Level 3, asked Jian Wushuang. He could not help but feel tempted. He had managed to cultivate the Divine Yin Thunder secret skill to level 2 on Star Island with a great deal of labor. This secret skill had never been improved since then. However, if it broke through into level 3, that definitely would give his strength a big boost. Looks like I definitely have to get my hands on the Chaos Divine Thunder, Jian Wushuang thought as he licked his lips. Firstly, he had to get the giant axe. I shall act directly then. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and dashed toward the magic weapon. The purple beast immediately picked up his movements the moment he drew near. Roar! An ear-splitting roar reverberated across the entire chasm as the huge body of the exotic beast dashed out from its resting place with alarming speed, covered with lightning. In an instant, it appeared before Jian Wushuang, and it clawed at the intruder with its sharp talons. Jian Wushuang's expression remained calm as the Blood Mountain sword appeared in his hand. He then casually struck at the claws of his opponent with it. Clang! The sound of metal clashing against metal rang out, and Jian Wushuang's figure retreated quickly away. Damned human, the beast hissed. Its gaze was extremely murderous. It had recognized Jian Wushuang. It then continued attacking in a fit of rage. This time, the beast had no plans to allow the accursed human to escape again. Soon, two figures, one chasing and the other fleeing, could be seen bursting out from underground as they dashed toward the surrounding void. Just as the beast was lured out of hiding by Jian Wushuang, Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long, who had remained in hiding all this while, acted immediately. They snuck into the chasm and located the giant axe before absorbing it into an interspatial ring. The hunchbacked Celestial Master Yi then sent a message to Jian Wushuang to keep him updated. Have they already got the axe? Jian Wushuang thought. A smile appeared on his lips as he received the message. He did not want to waste any more time with the beast and shook it off easily with his dragon blood secret skill. He then gathered with the Celestial Masters in a spot within the void. Celestial Master Yi, take out the giant axe quickly for us to see, said Celestial Master Meng Long happily. Sure, replied his companion readily. He then drew out the weapon with a wave of his hand. Its power is extremely great, much more than normal chaos magic weapons, to be exact. It should already be classified as the chaos magic treasure, right? Asked Celestial Master Meng Long as he stared at the axe. It's definitely a chaos magic treasure, but it's a pity that it has been damaged and not as powerful as it used to be, replied Celestial Master Yi regretfully. Even if it's not as powerful as it used to be, it's still much more powerful than the magic weapon you're using, retorted Celestial Master Meng Long as he rolled his eyes. You're right, laughed Celestial Master Yi, seeming extremely happy. His expression grew solemn after the usual show of humility. Jian Wushuang, Celestial Master Menglong, I managed to get this giant axe because of help from the both of you, especially Jian Wushuang. It's extremely valuable and should fetch close to 20,000 fire points. I wish to give the two of you my 15,000 fire points that I've accumulated painstakingly over the years. It'll up to both of you to divide them amongst yourselves, he suggested. He sounded extremely sincere. The giant axe was extremely suitable for him and obviously not for Jian Wushuang or Celestial Master Menglong. As such, logically the weapon should go to him, but he had to offer a suitable amount of fire points to both of them in return. The giant axe's value was somewhere near what he said, 20,000 fire points. As such, his offer of 15,000 fire points to be split amongst his two accomplices was extremely generous. After all, he had also put in a considerable amount of effort into obtaining the weapon. If he had not felt its presence earlier on, none of them would have discovered the weapon in the first place. It's all due to your sharp senses, Celestial Master Yi, and your act of luring the purple beast away, Jian Wushuang, that we managed to obtain the giant axe. I didn't contribute at all and I can't possibly accept the offer of fire points, said Celestial Master Menglong with a laugh. Unexpectedly, Jian Wushuang also shook his head. The giant axe was discovered by you first, Celestial Master Yi, and naturally it should go to you. As for drawing the beast away, it was nothing. I don't want the fire points. If you really wish to thank me, I have a request to make, he said. A request? Asked Celestial Master Yi as he looked toward Jian Wushuang. Speak your mind, my young friend, he said readily. The Celestial Master considered Jian Wushuang to have saved the lives of both his companion and himself earlier on, and Jian Wushuang had even distracted the exotic beast so that they could obtain the giant axe. As such, he was truly grateful to Jian Wushuang, and he would have agreed to any request as long as it was within his means. When I saw the giant axe, I noticed that there's an extremely strong piece of Chaos Divine Thunder contained with it. I don't suppose you could give it to me? Asked Jian Wushuang. Chaos Divine Thunder? Asked the Celestial Master with a frown. In truth, he knew what was hidden in the weapon after becoming its master. There's indeed Chaos Divine Thunder in this axe. It should have been left behind by its previous owner. It is of not much use to me, and you can take it if you wish to, young friend, he agreed. Then I shall thank you for your kindness, said Jian Wushuang, feeling pleased. Celestial Master Yi drew the Chaos Divine Thunder in the axe out, allowing Jian Wushuang to transfer it into his body carefully. It was a rather successful operation. Even though the Chaos Divine Thunder was in Jian Wushuang's body now, it was still not under his control. He would have to refine it completely before he could slowly absorb its power and cultivate his own divine Yin Thunder secret skill to greater levels. Now that I've obtained the Chaos Divine Thunder, I have to go somewhere to do the closed-door training for a while. You two do not have to wait for me, please continue to seek for opportunities, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. Since that's the case, we'll take our leave, the Celestial Master said. They then set off quickly. After they left, Jian Wushuang found a quiet spot and built a temporary cave mansion for himself. He sat cross-legged in the cave mansion, feeling the powers of two thunderbolts beating within himself. They were the divine Yin Thunder, which he had cultivated from his secret skill, and the Chaos Divine Thunder within the giant axe from the purple beast's lair. He wanted to refine the Chaos Divine Thunder and absorb it slowly into his divine Yin Thunder. Let's begin, Jian Wushuang exclaimed. He let out a stream of air lightly and immediately began the refining process. Chapter 1106, Sinkhole. Chapter 1106, Sinkhole. In a flash, 8 years passed by. I've succeeded. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and there was a gold thunderbolt flashing past his eyes. He had shut himself in the cave mansion for 8 years. He had finally reached level 3 of the divine Yin Thunder secret skill. At the first level of the skill, he could produce the most ordinary black thunderbolts. At level 2, they turned scarlet. And now, at level 3 of the skill, he could produce gold thunderbolts. They contained extremely ferocious power which was at least 10 times more than that of the Scarlet Thunderbolts produced at level 2 of the skill. When this secret skill reached level 2, it had little impact on my overall strength. Now that it has reached level 3, it'll help increase the power of my swordsmanships once I learn to combine both together. My overall power could even reach a new level, he thought. Currently, I'm faster than the advanced Celestial Masters, but in terms of power, I'm much weaker than them. Now that I have reached a higher level of proficiency in Divine Een Thunder, the power of my swordsmanships will increase, thereby solving the issue of my power shortage. I'm definitely much stronger than before. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists together. He was feeling somewhat expectant. He wanted to test his strength against an opponent to see how much he had improved. He had no luck finding any expert from the Jin Kingdom in the vast battlefield, however. In fact, he had only encountered one after wandering for so many years. I can only wait for the next opportunity, Jian Wushuang thought, trying hard to suppress his desire to fight. After successfully achieving level 3 proficiency in Divine Een Thunder, Jian Wushuang left the cave mansion and resumed his journey, casually wandering about in the battlefield. It seemed boundless. It was huge. Also, it was fraught with many natural perilous places. They were so dangerous that even any of the 5 Green Fire Palace masters could die if they stepped into the traps by accident. Needless to say, the probability of an ordinary celestial master dying from falling into the traps was even higher. 5 years after he achieved a breakthrough in the Divine Een Thunder secret skill, Jian Wushuang came to a place that had an extremely peculiar landscape. This is... Jian Wushuang studied the ground in front of him, looking a little awestruck. As far as he could see, there was a pitch-black bottomless sinkhole on the ground. Jian Wushuang's eyesight was extremely sharp now, and the sinkhole had to be at least more than 33 kilometers if he could not see its bottom, even after utilizing the Scarlet Eye secret skill. Furthermore, it was much, much too wide. All Jian Wushuang could see was the sinkhole. It stretched for at least 3,000 kilometers. How was such a huge sinkhole formed? Could it be also created by a fight between experts? Uttered Jian Wushuang in awe. That's highly possible, nodded Gu King solemnly inside Jian Wushuang. There are countless experts in the eternal chaotic world, and some of them, like the creator of the star bloodline and King Luozhen, the 8-star imperial god, are so powerful that they can easily destroy an eternal world with a simple move. The sinkhole in front of you could very possibly be created by one punch of such an expert, he continued. From one punch? Jian Wushuang asked. He cleared his throat and took in a deep, cold breath. Just at this moment. Jian Wushuang, look quickly toward your left, Gu King said hurriedly. Jian Wushuang did as told, his pupils immediately shrinking. Using the Scarlet Eye secret skill, he could clearly see a golden glow less than 30 kilometers far away from his left. Even though it was extremely faint and hard for even an ordinary celestial master to spot, Jian Wushuang still managed to notice it. He immediately dashed toward the glow without hesitation. He covered the distance between the glow and himself in an instant, appearing in front of it. This is, Jian Wushuang said, looking pleasantly surprised as he saw the true color of the golden glow. Ancient god power, he exclaimed. Jian Wushuang kept his gaze fixed squarely on the 4 golden droplets of water. He knew very clearly what sort of power they contained. Before he had left the Green Fire Palace, Tang Emperor had given him a similar droplet. It turned out to be the ancient god power. 4 droplets of ancient god power? Asked Jian Wushuang, pleasantly surprised. He then kept them in his interspatial ring. You're in luck, aren't you, Jian Wushuang? Teased Gu King. Haha, laughed Jian Wushuang readily. Indeed, he was in luck. There were many uses for the ancient god power, especially for Jian Wushuang. At the Fire Point Exchange office, 1 droplet of ancient god power was worth exactly 5,000 fire points. As such, the 4 droplets he just collected was worth 20,000 fire points. They were worth as much as the valuable giant axe obtained by Celestial Master Yi much earlier. Soon, however, Jian Wushuang began to look doubtful. How did 4 droplets of ancient god power come to be suspended above the sinkhole? He thought. He turned his gaze toward the pitch-black, bottomless sinkhole below him subconsciously. At this moment, a booming sound suddenly came from the bottom of the sinkhole. Jian Wushuang then felt the land around him starting to shake violently. "What's going on?" Jian Wushuang asked, frowning. "Jian Wushuang, I have a bad feeling about this." "You had better leave while you can," said Gu King solemnly. "I feel the same way," Jian Wushuang replied, squinting. He then dashed toward the void at some distance away, not daring to stay for even a little while. Not long after he began to move, however, the booming sound grew louder, before something exploded out of the sinkhole. A bone-chilling force was rising out. It looked like a long-dormant volcano erupting. It was terrible. A terrible force. The moment the force rose out from the sinkhole, the void above it began to disintegrate like paper. The force contained huge shearing power, and it destroyed the area and everything around it. "That's not good," exclaimed Jian Wushuang, his expression changing. "Flee, Jian Wushuang. Flee quickly," roared Gu King. Jian Wushuang had reacted extremely swiftly. The moment he could sense the booming sound, he immediately dashed toward the void at the edge of the sinkhole, but the twisting force was still moving too quickly for him. He had just reached the border of the sinkhole and had yet to escape from it when the force caught up with him. Chapter 1107, Blood Cold Wind. Chapter 1107, Blood Cold Wind. Boom! In an instant, a fearsome gale with huge twisting force struck Jian Wushuang. He immediately grunted in pain and started burning the spiritual power in his body as fuel to utilize the second level of his Dragon Blood secret skill. His speed immediately increased to 100 times faster, and he tried his best to withstand the impact from the blast. In the end, he managed to force his way out of the void which the sinkhole was at as well as the impact radius of the gale. He was deathly pale as he stood on the void away from the sinkhole. He spat out a large mouthful of blood, and he could feel that his aura had been diminished to pitiful levels. "Luckily, I'm still alive, even though I was seriously wounded." Jian Wushuang wiped away the blood stains on the corner of his mouth and raised his head again, turning his gaze back to the void surrounding the sinkhole. The fearsome gale was still sweeping around, smashing anything in its path to bits. The scene caused the corners of Jian Wushuang's mouth to twitch. He still had a lingering fear of the gale. "It's too dangerous," Jian Wushuang thought. He was in grave danger moments ago, and if his reaction had been only a fraction slower, or if his speed was slightly slower, his figure would definitely have been smashed to smithereens by the impact from the gale. He doubted there would even be any remains of himself left. The epicenter of the gale should be the center of the sinkhole. I was only standing at the side of the sinkhole, which was far from its core. Even so, I was seriously wounded even with the protection of the blood-killing plate armor and the golden image secret skill. Furthermore, the blast only lasted for a while, Jian Wushuang muttered in awe, his eyes still full of shock. "Jian Wushuang, if I didn't see wrongly, this gale should be the blood cold wind, something which is seen rarely even in the eternal chaotic world. Not only does it contain a terrible twisting power, but the chilling effect it causes is also even more alarming. Most of your wounds were caused by this chilling effect," Gu King explained. "Blood cold wind?" Jian Wushuang asked. When he briefly made contact with the gale earlier, he had indeed felt an extremely chilly energy rush into his body. Normally, it's very hard for the blood cold wind to form, but the sinkhole before you just now managed to create such a huge amount of it. If I didn't guess wrongly, there must be some treasure hidden deep within it. It must be something that's very chilly and contains an extreme amount of Yin energy. Also, it must be extremely valuable, said Gu King. "So what if there's treasure inside the sinkhole? I can't get to it, even if it's a chaos divine treasure," said Jian Wushuang bitterly. "That's true," said Gu King as he nodded in agreement. He then remained silent. Both of them knew that there definitely was some sort of treasure at the bottom of the sinkhole, and it was of the extremely rare variety. Even so, they had no way of obtaining it. After all, Jian Wushuang had barely survived a blast of the gale. Who knew what dangers would be waiting for them at the bottom of the sinkhole? As such, Jian Wushuang could only stand by anxiously. He stood silently at the edge of the sinkhole as Gu King slowly began to patch him up. Before long, the terrible blood-cold wind had also abated. Even the void that had been damaged by the gale had been restored. It was peaceful once again, as if nothing had ever happened before. Even so, Jian Wushuang, who had just escaped with his life, did not dare to step close to the sinkhole again. He did not leave, however. He just stood nearby in silence, quietly waiting. After about 1 hour, a booming sound rose from the bottom of the sinkhole again. Is it starting again? Jian Wushuang fled to a safe distance far away from the sinkhole, his gaze remaining fixed on it. Indeed, with a loud sound, the blood-cold wind rose out from the sinkhole again. It destroyed everything in its path like the previous gale did. This time, Jian Wushuang was far away and unaffected by the gale. He only quietly observed the entire proceedings. The blood-cold wind lasted for about the same time that one needed to take 10 breaths before it abated again. 10 breaths. Jian Wushuang thought as he squinted. The previous gale also lasted for around the same duration. Jian Wushuang remained at the same spot, constantly observing gale after gale. 10 days passed by in a jiffy. Within these 10 days, the blood-cold wind kept rising out of the sinkhole, and Jian Wushuang kept a close watch on it. He had already spotted the pattern of the gale's occurrence. The blood-cold wind only gets activated once every hour, and it lasts for the same duration. I take 10 breaths every time. Apart from that, each time it comes, it'll carry some ancient god power along with it. When it dies down, some of that power remains behind, Jian Wushuang thought. He remained in observation at the same spot for 10 days, witnessing countless gusts of blood-cold wind rising out from the sinkhole. He noticed a droplet of ancient god power left behind after one such gale abated, leading him to realize that not only was there a treasure of extreme Yin energy in the sinkhole, there was also plenty of ancient god power in it as well. The ancient god power was extremely pure and condensed by at least 6-star ancient god. Naturally, even the blood-cold wind could not easily destroy such power, and as a result, it must have remained intact at the bottom of the sinkhole. Jian Wushuang now understood why he managed to see 4 droplets of ancient god power at the sinkhole earlier on. After coming to a complete understanding of the regularity of the gales, he took out his animal hide map. The location I'm currently at is. After identifying his location on the map, he left a mark which contained a message. The message was about the uniqueness of the sinkhole, as well as the regularity of the gales. Aside, Jian Wushuang also named the sinkhole Chilly Wind Valley. This vast battlefield is fraught with dangers. Who knows how many places like Chilly Wind Valley can be found in it? Now that I've found and marked one, the chances of survival of Green Fire Palace experts who choose to wander in it will increase slightly, Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. The other experts from the Green Fire Palace would also mark their maps in a similar fashion when they came to new places or danger zones in previously uncharted territory. After returning to the Green Fire Palace, they would hand over their maps to the respective palace masters, who would reorganize them and pass on information about the newly discovered danger zones to every expert still wandering in the battlefield, so that they could avoid going into these areas and remain safe. As a member of the Green Fire Palace, Jian Wushuang had to play his part. He still remained standing in the void at the edge of Chilly Wind Valley. He was in no hurry to leave. Just at this moment, a message was transmitted to him via the token in his interspatial ring. Chapter 1108, in order. Chapter 1108, in order. What? Jian Wushuang asked. His expression changed the instant he read the message. Coordinates to a zone on the battlefield were included the message as well as an order. The order was personally sent by Void Temple Master, one of the 5 Green Fire Palace Masters. He wanted all experts wandering in the battlefield to proceed with utmost urgency to the zone. Those too far away from the given coordinates were exempted, but those that were near had to rush over immediately. What caused Void Temple Master to send out such an order? Thought Jian Wushuang, still feeling surprised. He then immediately took out the map to the battlefield again. The coordinates sent by the Temple Master are over here. Very quickly, Jian Wushuang had located the zone which Void Temple Master wanted the experts to proceed to. It was also in uncharted territory. This zone is not too far away from me, and I can reach there in a month at my current speed, thought Jian Wushuang. 1 month's journey was considered short in the boundless battlefield. Let's set off quickly. Originally, Jian Wushuang had planned to remain at Chilly Wind Valley for a while more to see if more ancient god power or perhaps even other treasures would come out from the sinkhole, but he dared not delay carrying out Void Temple Master's order and set off immediately. His wounds had healed a long time ago, during the 10 days he spent observing the gales. Naturally, his speed was extremely fast. At the same moment he received the message, many other Green Fire Palace experts also received the same order. Void Temple Master sent out this order personally to us? What's so urgent? Something big must have happened in this zone. Could it be the discovery of a new secret land? Or perhaps a big opportunity? Something big must have happened. It's a pity that the zone is far from where I am, way too far, to be exact. Even if I put everything down now and rush there at maximum speed, I'll need at least a few centuries' time to reach there. The incident must have long blown over by then. It's too far away. I can't do anything as I couldn't possibly make it in time to help. Those experts that were currently extremely far away from the zone were surprised to receive the order, but all of them ended up shaking their heads helplessly. The zone was too far away for them, and these experts would need centuries to arrive there. Furthermore, one had to factor in the potential dangers that they would be faced with. Evidently, there was no way they could make it in time to provide assistance. The other experts that were already nearby or even not too far away from the zone immediately made their way there. There must be some huge opportunity that showed itself. Otherwise, the Temple Master would not have asked so many of us to go to the zone. That said, nobody knows what sort of opportunity it would be. I'm so looking forward to knowing what it is. Let's go, let's move immediately. The opportunity may have already been seized by others by the time we get there. Many celestial masters from the Green Fire Temple were rushing over to the zone at top speed. At the same time, something was happening in the void far away from the zone. An indifferent-looking man who was carrying a long sword on his back was bashing his way through all the obstacles in his path, as if he had turned into a sharp sword himself. He was just a celestial master, but the speed which he was traveling at was far beyond the capabilities of his peers. The man was Sunrise Sword Emperor. He was also advancing at maximum speed toward the zone. 2 figures were waiting quietly at a vast wasteland, and not before long, a black spot appeared at the limits of their lines of sight. "He's here," said the short hunchbacked elder, a smile appearing on his face. The black spot gradually grew bigger, and a figure appeared before them shortly after. "We meet again, Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long," greeted Jian Wushuang with a smile. "How have you been, Jian Wushuang, my young friend?" asked the Celestial Masters as they smiled too. Although they had gone their separate ways, all 3 of them were wandering around the same area and they were not far away from each other. Naturally, they would meet again after receiving the Temple Master's message. "I believe the 2 of you are also going to the zone?" asked Jian Wushuang. "Do you know the reason why we're told to go there?" he continued asking. The Celestial Masters shook their heads. "Even though I don't know what the call is all about, but I've been in the Green Fire Palace for so long and haven't received many messages of this nature. I believe that something big must have happened in that zone," replied Celestial Master Yi solemnly. "If that's the case, let's not dally around any longer. We should set off immediately." Without waiting any longer, Jian Wushuang joined the Celestial Masters in their journey toward the zone. They arrived at their destination 1 month later. Only after arriving did they realize that the zone was actually made up of an endless chain of mountains, and there were many towering mountain ranges in it. "I've never been to this place before. Let's be extra careful," said Celestial Master Yi. Right? Nodded Jian Wushuang gently. Suddenly he sensed something. At the same time, this case happened to the two Celestial Masters as well. They could sense the presence of an expert from the Green Fire Palace from their tokens, and apparently, the expert was moving at an alarming pace. Seems like he or she is fleeing? Asked Celestial Master Yi with a frown. He or she could be fleeing or chasing after an enemy, another expert from the Jin Kingdom, for example. Let's go to get a closer look for ourselves, said Jian Wushuang. The three of them immediately hurried off to their comrade's location. The expert had also seemed to sense their presence through his or her token. He was changing direction and moving toward them now. After a while, they saw the expert. It's Celestial Master Jin Chu, said Celestial Master Yi emotionally. Just by himself? Exclaimed Celestial Master Meng Long, similarly emotional. Celestial Master Jin Chu was a medium Celestial Master of the Green Fire Palace and considered as weaker compared to his peers. As such, under normal circumstances, he would be traveling with companions in uncharted territory. Now, however, he was by himself. Not only was he traveling alone, but his aura was also extremely weak and his complexion very pale. Evidently, he was also wounded seriously and two figures in gold armor were chasing after him. The Jin Kingdom. It's experts from the Jin Kingdom. The eyes of the Celestial Masters glinted as they noticed the figures in gold armor as their killing intents surged. Let's go. Jian Wushuang growled as the Blood Mountain sword appeared in his hand. He took a huge step forward, moving toward Celestial Master Jin Chu before the others. Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long followed closely behind. Chapter 1109. Forced to Retreat. Chapter 1109. Forced to Retreat. Experts from the Green Fire Palace. As Jian Wushuang and the two Celestial Masters dashed toward them, the two experts from the Jin Kingdom noticed their presence. Humph, Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long are only middle ranking, while the other one is just a useless Eternal Realm rookie. No need to bother about them, let's continue chasing our target. Celestial Master Jin Chu is worth exactly 3 life elixirs, exclaimed one of the Jin Kingdom experts, a purple-haired burly man. The experts from the Jin Kingdom also had some knowledge of a few Celestial Masters from the Green Fire Palace. It was how they identified Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long. The eyes of the other expert were also focused upon Celestial Master Jin Chu. The speed of both pursuers did not decrease in the least bit. This surprised Jian Wushuang and his companions. Why are they still in pursuit after noticing our presence? What foolhardiness, said Celestial Master Yi with a chilly gaze. One of them is an advanced Celestial Master, while the other a middle-ranking one. How dare they be so conceited? Added Celestial Master Meng Long, rage burning in his eyes as well. Leave the advanced Celestial Master to me. I'll let you guys handle the middle-ranking one, said Jian Wushuang. Right? Said Celestial Master Yi nodding. No problem, added Celestial Master Meng Long. They had personally witnessed Jian Wushuang's strength, and it was because of his presence that they remarked about the foolishness of the two Jin Kingdom experts. Shortly after, the three of them met up with the experts from the Jin Kingdom. Jian Wushuang was holding onto the Blood Mountain sword. It was bursting with strong power. He charged before his companions and slashed with the sword when he got close enough to touch his opponent. Heaven's Bane, he exclaimed. A majestic ray of sword light of pure yang energy sliced through the void in front of it, and a golden thunderbolt merged with it as it shot out, causing it to become more piercing to his opponent's eyes. It also increased the pressure felt by the expert from the Jin Kingdom. Piss off, you foolish, useless thing, the purple-haired burly advanced Celestial Master roared. He struck his palm out with amazing quickness. The force equivalent to a thunderclap was contained in his move. It was extremely powerful as well. Even though the burly man acted as though he did not think much of Jian Wushuang, he dared not take his opponent's attack lightly. Evidently, he had utilized a secret skill of his. The two huge forces, each containing electrical energy, clashed head-on. Bam! With an ear-splitting boom, wave after wave of electrical power was unleashed into the surrounding void, shredding it into pieces. It felt as though heaven and earth had split open. The burly man's expression changed. He could feel a sharp pain emanating from his palm as his figure stumbled backward uncontrollably. When he raised his head again, he noticed that Jian Wushuang had already struck again. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Jian Wushuang struck 4 times with his sword. Each move was immensely powerful and brought huge pressure to his opponent. Jian Wushuang infused each strike with a golden thunderbolt, causing their power to be greatly increased. The level 3 Divine Yin Thunder had increased his attack capability to its peak. The burly man wore a serious expression on his face. This time he returned the favor with both hands. His palms, which were encased in scarlet boxing gloves, surged with electrical power. Shocking thunder palm. Bam, 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 bam. The man struck 4 times with his palms as well, also unleashing all of his power as an advanced celestial master. Even so, his figure was still knocked backward by the impact of the clash, and his arms felt incredibly numb. How could I, an advanced celestial master, not be on par with this kid in terms of offensive power? The burly man thought. He looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise before turning around and fleeing. As he did so, he left a voice message for his comrade to leave quickly as well. Jian Wushuang had no intention of chasing after the burly man. Instead, he turned his gaze toward the other battle which was still raging on. The Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long were facing off against the other expert from the Jin Kingdom. The expert was only a medium celestial master, and his strength was close to his opponent's. If it was a one-on-one fight, he would not be afraid, but he was facing 2 opponents now. Furthermore, Celestial Master Jin Chu still had some battle strength left in him, and he was still eyeing for an opportunity to strike back. All these factors caused the Jin Kingdom expert to defend clumsily. He had originally hoped that his partner could come to his aid after dispatching the Eternal Realm expert, but surprisingly, the burly man had lost to Jian Wushuang and even fled immediately after. Damn it. His expression changed drastically. He was still in shock. The only thing on his mind was to retreat as well. His opponents were, however, hell-bent on catching him. Just at this moment, Jian Wushuang also came charging toward him. With my current strength, it'll still be hard for me to completely subdue an advanced celestial master, but it's more than enough to handle a middle-ranking one, thought Jian Wushuang as his eyes gleamed with murderous intent. He unleashed his swordsmanship on his opponent as he was drawing near. An extremely beautiful yet mournful-looking sword light formed, and a terrible consciousness attack mixed with killing intent shot toward the middle-ranking celestial master of the Jin Kingdom. Faced with the sudden attack, the celestial master's consciousness was muddled in an instant, and he could do nothing as the sword light sliced his head off. Out of the 2 experts that were pursuing Celestial Master Jin Chu, one was dead now and the other had already fled. The experts from the Green Fire Palace gathered in the void. Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long greeted Celestial Master Jin Chu. He then turned his gaze in surprise to Jian Wushuang. This esteemed fellow, then, should be our new comrade and young friend Jian Wushuang, right? That's me, replied Jian Wushuang with a slight nod. I'm Jin Chu. I'm indebted to you 3 for your help today, the Celestial Master said in gratitude. It's no big deal. Furthermore, both Celestial Master Meng Long and I did not do anything much. If you really wish to thank someone, you should thank our young friend here. If it wasn't for him, we would have been unable to force the advanced Celestial Master of the Jin Kingdom to retreat, much less kill the other middle-ranking one, said Celestial Master Yi cheerfully. Yes, it's all thanks to our young friend, Jian Wushuang, said Celestial Master Jin Chu. He thanked the Eternal Realm expert profusely, but he wore a strange look on his face. He had heard about Jian Wushuang before and knew about his background. He even knew that Jian Wushuang had just joined the Green Fire Palace, and that even though he was an Eternal Realm expert, his battle strength was on par with a medium celestial master. That was what he knew. Now that I've finally met him, isn't his actual strength much greater than reported? He thought. Wasn't Jian Wushuang's ability just supposed to be on par with that of a medium celestial master? So how could he defeat an advanced celestial master in direct combat? Celestial Master Jin Chu was extremely puzzled. Chapter 1110 Life Elixirs. Chapter 1110 Life Elixirs. Following a brief and polite chat, they began to get down to business. Celestial Master Jin Chu, the three of us rushed over here on Void Temple Master's order, but we don't know what has happened. Please tell us the details, he said. Jian Wushuang, Yi, and Meng Long knew that something must have happened for Void Temple Master to issue such an order. Something major did happen. To be precise, a big opportunity has appeared, Jin Chu answered. A big opportunity? The three of them were surprised. Here's the thing, Jin Chu explained. When a Green Fire Palace expert passed by the area lately, he found a life elixir. A life elixir? Jian Wushuang became stunned. Yi and Meng Long also appeared to be confused. Jian Wushuang was the only one among them who had never studied elixir. Yi and Meng Long knew a thing or two about elixirs, but life elixirs were foreign to them. Suddenly, Gu Qing's voice resounded in Jian Wushuang's mind. Life elixir is good news for the Green Fire world. Oh? Jian Wushuang asked, intrigued. Life elixir is an inimitable elixir and has only one effect. It can help a Dao master to integrate his existing Dao and condense his Dharma body. Integrate Daos and condense Dharma body? Wouldn't that mean becoming a celestial master? He asked in surprise. Yes, life elixir is an elixir that can advance a Dao master into a celestial master. Moreover, under normal circumstances, one elixir can produce one celestial master, Jin Chu answered. Jian Wushuang was shocked to hear this. It was a great challenge for a Dao master to become a celestial master, as one would be required to integrate existing Dao to create one's Dharma body. There were a large number of Dao masters in the Green Fire world, and quite a few of them had reached the top of rank 3. However, few celestial masters had emerged. Though there were quite a number of celestial masters in the Green Fire Palace, they had all arduously improved themselves over time in the Green Fire world for 40 million years. It was a challenge indeed to produce a celestial master. Yet, life elixirs now presented an easy way for a Dao master to become one. If this elixir became available in the Green Fire world, all the Dao masters would go mad over it. Though life elixirs are extraordinary, they're useless to us since we've reached the level of celestial master, he said. You're right that it's useless to us. In fact, if there's only one of this elixir, Green Fire Palace wouldn't have cared. The issue is that there are tons of life elixir here. Jin Chu said seriously. Tons of life elixir? The other three asked in surprise. One elixir would produce a celestial master. Then wouldn't a bulk of life elixirs produce an army of celestial masters? Green Fire Palace would not have cared if the elixir could produce a single celestial master. However, if a large number of celestial masters was at stake, there were only 100 celestial masters in Green Fire Palace, which was insufficient for their battle against the Jin Kingdom. With a new group of celestial masters, Green Fire Palace would have the ability to directly fight the Jin Kingdom. Perhaps they could even dominate the battle. There are numerous life elixirs here, but no one knows the exact number. I'm sure there are no less than 100 of them, Jin Chu said confidently. When the Green Fire Palace expert found the life elixirs, he informed only Void Temple Master. Void Temple Master then ordered several celestial masters nearby to search the area for life elixirs. Unexpectedly, when they arrived and were ready to act, Jin Kingdom experts also found the place. Therefore, both sides began searching and fighting for those life elixirs. Void Temple Master ordered you three to come after realizing the Jin Kingdom experts found out about it. I see. The three of them finally understood what had happened. Celestial Master Jin Chu, you've been here for several days. Did you find any life elixirs? Yi asked. I came here 10 days ago with Celestial Master Sanjia, but we separated to increase our chances of finding life elixirs. I found 3 in the past 3 days, Jin Chu answered. You found 3 at one go? Jian Wushuang asked. Jin Chu's answer surprised them. 3 life elixirs could create 3 celestial masters. Just then, the 3 of them felt something. They had just received news from Void Temple Master through the token. Void Temple Master told them about life elixirs as well as their purpose. He said that a life elixir was worth 10,000 fire points at the Fire Points Exchange office. 10,000 fire points for one. He was stunned, but his surprise soon gave way to excitement. He turned to look at Jin Chu in admiration. Congratulations, Celestial Master Jin Chu. You just earned 30,000 fire points. Points that I earned after nearly losing my life. If I hadn't been lucky enough to meet you 3, I would have paid for it with my life, Jin Chu replied. The 3 of them exchanged looks before chuckling. Not only are these life elixirs valuable, but they're also of great importance to Green Fire Palace. We should try our best to find more, he said. Why don't we split up and look for them? Jian Wushuang, you should go alone since you're the strongest. The 3 of us will stick together just in case. Sure. Jian Wushuang nodded as he was used to acting alone. Meng Long and Jin Chu also agreed. There were many Jin Kingdom experts here. If they tried searching the way Jin Chu did, they might just lose their elixirs. They would be able to put up a fight if the 3 of them stayed together. Then I'll be taking my leave. Jian Wushuang waved at them before flying off. Yi and Meng Long waited for Jin Chu to recover a little before setting off to find life elixirs. Chapter 11:11 Acquaintances. Chapter 11:11 Acquaintances. Jian Wushuang flew alone at a comfortable pace, passing the never-ending lofty mountains below. He was using the Scarlet Eye secret skill as it gave him a broader view. To think there's such a peculiar elixir in the world. He appeared bewildered as he contemplated the existence of life elixirs. Humph! What's so surprising about them? Gu King asked coldly. You're so short-sighted. No one in the eternal chaotic world would even blink because there are so many more powerful ones there. Yes, but I'm now in the Green Fire world. Life elixirs will be a great help to Green Fire Palace. Jian Wushuang retorted. After all, one life elixir could create a celestial master. If they found hundreds of life elixirs here, Green Fire Palace would welcome hundreds of new celestial masters. It would greatly enhance the might of the palace. Alright, life elixirs could help people to integrate different daos and create dharma bodies. Can I use it when I'm ready to become a celestial master in the future? Jian Wushuang asked. It's impossible. Gu King laughed. Why? Jian Wushuang was confused. It's true that life elixirs can help one become a celestial master, but one's Dao will determine the chances of success in breaking through. If your 3 Dao are merely in the general level, then I can say with certainty that the elixir can help you become a celestial master. However, if one of 2 of your Daos are in the universe level, your chances drop to 80 or 90%. If they're in the creation level, your chances are less than 50%. You should at least develop the strongest sword principle if you want to be a celestial master and form your dharma body. Life elixirs have little effect on you, so it's impossible for you to become a celestial master with just the elixir, Gu King added. I see. Jian Wushuang smiled wryly. He was unaware that life elixirs had a bearing on the level of Dao he had developed. Either way, I should try my best to get more life elixirs, Jian Wushuang said, clenching his hands. He continued to fly above the mountains to search for the elixirs. 5 days had passed since. This smell. Jian Wushuang stopped midair when he smelled the unmistakable fragrance of elixir. It originated from the spot beside him. The smell was unique as it was the smell of blood. Over there. Jian Wushuang looked in a particular direction and rushed over at once. After a while, he saw 2 scarlet elixirs floating in the void. 2 elixirs? Looks like I'm in luck. Jian Wushuang was so excited that he rushed to grab the 2 scarlet elixirs. However, when he looked at the elixirs in his hands, a strange feeling hit him. These are life elixirs? Such a strong smell of blood. Jian Wushuang commented in bewilderment. Life elixirs are made out of warrior's essence blood. Of course, they'll emanate the aura of essence blood, Gu King explained. I see. Jian Wushuang nodded. The strong aura of the 2 elixirs also attracted an elegant man dressed in a golden armor. The man also rushed to the source of the aura, but he was much slower than Jian Wushuang. He arrived just in time to see Jian Wushuang putting the 2 life elixirs away. 2 life elixirs. Damn it. Someone got to them earlier, and to make things worse, it's a Green Fire Palace expert. His face darkened and his expression twisted into one of anger. Soon, he got a clear look at Jian Wushuang. It's him. He stopped in midair with a frown. Jian Wushuang, who had just placed the life elixirs into his interspatial ring, also noticed the man's presence. He was surprised when he looked up and saw who it was. It was the Jin Kingdom expert that he met under the stone pillar with the word, kill, on it earlier, as well as the first Jin Kingdom expert that he met since entering the battlefield. The man possessed the strength of an advanced celestial master and was strong even among his same-level peers. He was, at least, much stronger than the purple-haired, burly man whom he defeated 3 days ago. The life elixirs fell into the youngster's hands. The man stared at Jian Wushuang, contemplating. He then shook his head. In their previous battle, he was defeated and even lost an arm. Jian Wushuang was evidently as strong as he was. Now that he was alone, it seemed unlikely that he would be able to steal those life elixirs from Jian Wushuang. The man turned around to leave after a brief contemplation. Just as he was about to leave. Where are you going all anxious like that? Jian Wushuang's cheerful laughter reverberated in the air as he flew toward the man. The man stopped in his tracks and turned around to glare at Jian Wushuang. I know I can't kill you and have no way of taking the life elixirs from you, so I'm leaving. What else do you want me to do? He shouted. What else do I want you to do? Jian Wushuang sneered. The grudge between Green Fire Palace and the Jin Kingdom dictates both sides never stop until the other is exterminated. Since I've stumbled across you now, how can I allow you to leave with ease? Take this. Jian Wushuang charged at the man like he was a flowing light. A sword essence came out in an instant. You madman! There was raging fury in the man's eyes. He had chosen to leave, knowing that he could neither defeat Jian Wushuang or steal Jian Wushuang's life elixirs. However, he never expected that Jian Wushuang would provoke and fight him. Where did the kid get the courage? I didn't want to waste any energy battling you the last time, but did you think that I was afraid of you? The man asked coldly. Golden light flared from within him as 4 arms materialized, all equipped with a massive golden hammer. He swung his hammers at Jian Wushuang with a lightning speed motion. In just several decades, Jian Wushuang once again fought a fierce battle with the golden armored man. That you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.